The scream pierced the midnight air like a blade through silk. Logan Hayes froze, his wrench clattering against the garage floor. That wasn't a drunk's cry or a lover's quarrel. That was pure terror. His special forces instincts kicked in before his mind could protest. In seconds, he was sprinting toward the alley, where a masked figure was dragging a young girl toward a black van. Logan didn't think. He just moved, launching himself at the kidnapper with the force of a decade's worth of suppressed warfare. Welcome to a story where one act of courage changes everything. Stick around to see how far a father's protection can reach, and drop a comment about which city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. The wrench hit the concrete with a metallic clang that echoed through Hayes' auto repair like a gunshot. Logan Hayes stood frozen for exactly one heartbeat, his oil-stained hand suspended in midair where they'd been adjusting the timing belt on Mrs. Patterson's ancient Buick, 10 years out of Special Forces, and his body still responded to certain sounds with the precision of a loaded weapon. That scream, high, desperate, young, triggered every combat instinct he'd tried to bury beneath small-town monotony and motor oil. "Daddy?" A small voice drifted down from the apartment above the garage. Chloe, his 7-year-old daughter, stood at the top of the stairs in her dinosaur pajamas, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Go back to bed, sweetheart," Logan said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding his system. "Daddy needs to check something outside. Lock the door behind me." He didn't wait for her response. His boots were already moving, carrying him through the garage's side door and into the humid Virginia night. The second scream came from the alley behind Riverside Drive. Closer now, more desperate. Logan's practiced eyes swept the street, empty except for a few parked cars and the flickering neon sign of Murphy's Bar 3 blocks down. No witnesses, no backup. Just like Fallujah. He moved in shadows, his breathing controlled, every footfall deliberate and silent. The alley materialized ahead, a narrow gap between the old textile mill and a row of abandoned storefronts. Broken streetlights created pockets of darkness perfect for ambush. Logan's hand instinctively reached for a sidearm that wasn't there, hadn't been there for years. Then he saw them. A man in black tactical gear had a young girl pinned against a van's open door. She couldn't have been more than 10, her school backpack still strapped to her shoulders, her white dress torn at the sleeve. The man's gloved hand covered her mouth while his other arm locked around her waist, lifting her small frame off the ground as she kicked desperately at empty air. "Stop fighting, or this gets worse," the man growled, his voice muffled by a balaclava. Logan didn't announce himself. No warnings, no heroic declarations. He moved like smoke given purpose, covering 20 feet in 3 seconds. His shoulder connected with the kidnapper's ribs with the force of a battering ram. The impact sent all 3 of them sprawling, the man into the van's side panel with a sickening crunch, the girl tumbling free onto the gravel, and Logan rolling through the momentum to come up in a fighting stance. The kidnapper recovered faster than expected, military training evident in how quickly he regained his footing. A knife materialized in his hand, catching what little moonlight filtered into the alley. "Walk away," the man said, his breathing heavy but controlled. "This isn't your problem." Logan's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Funny thing about problems, I collect them." The kidnapper lunged, knife leading in a textbook thrust. Logan sidestepped, grabbed the extended wrist, and brought his knee up hard into the man's elbow. The joint bent backward with a wet snap. The knife clattered away as the kidnapper screamed, but Logan was already moving, driving an elbow into the man's temple. The masked figure crumpled like a marionette with severed strings. "Don't move," Logan said to the unconscious form, though he knew the man wouldn't be going anywhere for a while. He turned to the girl, who had pressed herself against the alley wall, eyes wide with shock. "Hey," Logan said, dropping to one knee, making himself smaller, less threatening. "You're safe now." "I'm Logan. What's your name?" Emma," she whispered, her whole body trembling. "Okay, Emma. We need to call the police and your parents. Can you tell me your mom or dad's?" The van's engine roared to life. Logan had been so focused on the girl he hadn't noticed a second person in the driver's seat. Tires squealed as the vehicle lurched forward. Logan grabbed Emma, pulling her against the wall as the van's mirror missed them by inches. The vehicle fishtailed onto Riverside Drive and disappeared into the night, leaving the unconscious kidnapper behind. "You saved me," Emma said, her voice small but steadier now. She looked up at Logan with eyes that seemed far too knowing for her age. "You smell like motor oil and grease, like someone who fixes things." "That's because I do fix things," Logan said, pulling out his phone to call 911. "Cars, mostly. Sometimes bad situations." Emma's small hand grabbed his wrist before he could dial. "Please don't call them yet." "Emma, we have to—" "They'll come back," she said. And something in her tone made Logan's tactical mind start calculating angles and scenarios. "They always come back. That's what Mama said. If they don't get me the first time, they come back with more people." Logan studied the girl's face in the dim light. Designer clothes, albeit torn. Perfect teeth. Private school backpack with a crest he didn't recognize. This wasn't a random kidnapping. "Who's they?" "Emma." Before she could answer, sirens wailed in the distance. Someone must have heard the commotion and called it in. The unconscious kidnapper groaned, starting to stir. "We need to move," Logan said, making a decision that went against every protocol he'd been trained to follow. "My garage is just around the corner. We'll be safe there while we figure this out." Emma nodded, trusting him implicitly in the way only children could trust their rescuers. Logan zip-tied the kidnapper's hands with restraints he spotted in the man's own tactical vest. Standard military issue, he noted with growing concern, then guided Emma out of the alley. Hayes Auto Repair stood like a fortress of normalcy amid the chaos of the last 5 minutes. Logan punched in the security code, ushered Emma inside, and immediately began running scenarios. The girl wasn't random. The kidnappers were professional, military trained. The van had been waiting, engine running. This was planned. "Daddy?" Chloe appeared at the top of the stairs again, her blonde hair messy from sleep. "Who's that?" "This is Emma," Logan said, forcing calm into his voice. "She's going to stay with us for a little bit. Why don't you show her where the bathroom is so she can clean up?" Chloe, blessed with the immediate acceptance of childhood, took Emma's hand. "Come on, you can use my Disney princess towel. It has Elsa on it." As the girls disappeared upstairs, Logan locked every door, checked every window, and retrieved the Glock 19 he kept in a safe behind the oil filters. The weight of it in his hand felt both foreign and familiar, like shaking hands with an old friend he'd hoped never to see again. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Hayes?" he answered, his voice sharp. "Mr. Hayes, you don't know me, but you just saved my daughter." The voice was female, cultured, with an undertone of barely controlled panic. "Is Emma safe?" "Who is this?" "My name is Victoria Cross. I'm Emma's mother. Please, is she safe?" Logan's mind cataloged the name. Victoria Cross. Victoria Cross Industries. Defense contracts. Fortune 500. The kind of money that attracted the kind of problems that required professional kidnappers. "She's safe," Logan said. "But you need to tell me what's going on." "Those weren't street thugs. They were professionals." "I know." Victoria's voice cracked slightly. "Mr. Hayes, I'm 15 minutes away. Please don't let anyone take her. Not the police, not anyone claiming to be federal agents. No one. There are things you don't understand." "Then help me understand." "Not over the phone. 15 minutes, please." The line went dead. Logan stood in his garage, surrounded by the familiar smell of motor oil and the unfamiliar weight of sudden responsibility. Upstairs, he could hear Chloe chattering away to Emma. Something about her collection of toy dinosaurs. Normal childhood sounds in a situation that was anything but normal. He checked his phone. 12:47 a.m. In 15 minutes, a woman he'd never met would arrive to collect a daughter he'd just saved from kidnappers who moved like soldiers. Every instinct told him to call the police, follow protocol, let the system handle it. But Emma's words echoed, "They always come back." Logan had been out of the game for 10 years, content to fix transmissions and raise his daughter in peace. But peace, he'd learned in 3 different wars, was just the pause between conflicts. And sometimes, the universe didn't care that you'd already given enough, sacrificed enough, lost enough. Sometimes, it threw a 10-year-old girl into your path and asked you to remember who you used to be. Logan checked the Glock's magazine, chambered around, and settled in to wait. Outside, Riverside grew quiet except for distant sirens converging on the alley where he'd left a professional kidnapper zip-tied and unconscious. The police would have questions, the kidnapper's associates would have plans, and Victoria Cross would have explanations. But for now, Logan Hayes had two girls upstairs. One is blood, one is responsibility, and the familiar weight of a weapon in his hand. Just like old times, except this time, he had more to lose. The security system chimed, motion detected at the garage's front entrance. Logan checked the monitor, empty street. Then the side entrance, also empty. His neck hair stood on end, the primitive alarm system that had saved his life more times than he could count. They were already here. "Chloe!" he called up the stairs, his voice carrying the exact tone that made his daughter stop whatever she was doing and listen. "Safe room. Now. Take Emma." He'd built the reinforced panic room behind a false wall in Chloe's closet 3 years ago, telling himself it was just paranoid preparation. Chloe knew the drill. They'd practiced it like a game. He heard her feet padding quickly across the floor above, heard the closet door open and close, heard the nearly imperceptible click of magnetic locks engaging. The lights in the garage flickered and died. They'd cut the power. Logan smiled in the darkness. They thought they were dealing with a mechanic, a has-been, a nobody who'd gotten lucky in an alley. They had no idea they'd just walked into the den of a man who'd spent 3 years planning contingencies for exactly this moment. Emergency lighting kicked in, battery-powered LEDs he'd installed along the floor, providing just enough illumination to navigate but not enough to aim by. Unless, of course, you'd memorized every tool, every corner, every possible angle of cover and concealment. The front door's lock clicked. Professional pickwork. 15 seconds max. Logan moved behind the hydraulic lift, finding the position he'd mentally cataloged years ago. Clear sight lines to all 3 entrances, backed against a wall to prevent flanking, with multiple escape routes. The door opened slowly. A figure in black tactical gear entered, rifle at ready position, night vision goggles giving him an alien silhouette, professional sweep pattern, checking corners, moving with trained precision. Logan waited. In combat, patience killed more enemies than bullets. A second figure entered, covering the first advance, then a third through the side door. They moved in practice synchronization, a military fire team clearing a building. They were good. Logan had been better. He grabbed the remote for the hydraulic lift and hit the release. 2 tons of machinery dropped 3 feet with a thunderous crash, exactly where he'd weakened the support bolts for this exact purpose. The noise and vibration would overwhelm their night vision momentarily. Maybe 2 seconds. 2 seconds was all Logan needed. He rolled left, came up behind the engine block he'd pulled from a truck that morning, and put 2 rounds center mass into the first figure. The man's body armor absorbed the impacts, but the kinetic force spun him into a tool cabinet. Logan was already moving, using the choreographed route he'd practiced 100 times in his head. The second figure swung his rifle toward Logan's muzzle flash, but Logan had already dropped prone, sliding under the Buick on a mechanic's creeper he'd positioned for this purpose. He shot out the man's knee, no armor there, and the figure collapsed with a scream. The third had taken cover behind the tire rack, exactly where Logan wanted him. He grabbed the industrial fire extinguisher from the wall and emptied it in that direction, filling the garage with a cloud of white chemical fog. Then he moved through it like a ghost, muscle memory guiding him through his own space. The third figure fired blind, full auto, spraying bullets through the fog. Amateur panic in a professional operator. Logan circled behind him, brought the Glock's butt down on the base of his skull, and the man crumpled. Silence, except for the wounded man's moaning. Logan zip-tied all 3, removed their weapons, and checked the security monitors. The street was empty except for a black SUV idling at the corner. As he watched, it pulled away and disappeared. They'd sent a probe team. 3 men to test his capabilities while the real force prepared. Military doctrine, reconnaissance in force. Gather intelligence, assess opposition strength, adjust tactics accordingly. His phone rang. Victoria Cross again. "I'm 5 minutes out," she said. "But they're already there, aren't they?" "Were," Logan corrected. "Your welcoming committee is taking a nap on my garage floor." Silence on the other end, then. "You're not just a mechanic." "Not just no." "Master Sergeant Logan Hayes," she said, and he could hear keyboard keys clicking in the background. "Silver Star, Bronze Star with Valor, 3 Purple Hearts. Delta Force operative, retired under medical discharge after an IED in Fallujah, cost you 40% mobility in your left shoulder. It's closer to 30% now, Logan said. Physical therapy and fixing cars does wonders. Mr. Hayes. Logan, you don't know me, but I know you. I know you lost your wife Sarah to cancer 3 years ago. I know you're raising Chloe alone. I know you chose this town because it's exactly 143 miles from the nearest military base, far enough to feel safe, but close enough to reach if the world ended. Lady, if you know all that, then you know I don't appreciate games. What does your daughter have to do with any of this? She's the key, Victoria said, to something that could end the world, or save it, depending on who gets their hands on it. And right now, you're the only person I trust to keep her safe. Through the security monitor, Logan saw a white Mercedes pull up outside. A woman stepped out, tall, elegant even in jeans and a hastily thrown-on jacket, with the kind of bone structure that belonged on magazine covers and the kind of eyes that belonged in boardrooms. I'm here, she said into the phone, looking directly at the security camera. And Logan? Thank you. For what you did in that alley and for what you're about to do. I haven't agreed to anything yet. No? Victoria said, approaching the front door. But you will. Because you're the kind of man who can't walk away from a fight when innocents are involved. It's why you joined the army. It's why you stayed in Delta even after your 3rd Purple Heart. And it's why you're going to help us now. Logan wanted to argue, but she was right. The moment he'd heard Emma's scream, the moment he'd seen her terrified face in that alley, he'd been committed. It wasn't a choice anymore. It was just a matter of understanding the mission. He opened the door, keeping the Glock visible but not directly threatening. Victoria Cross stood there, and even in the harsh emergency lighting, she carried herself with a grace that spoke of private schools and old money. But there was something else too, a hardness around her eyes, a tension in her shoulders that came from carrying secrets too heavy for one person. Ms. Cross, Logan said. Victoria, please. She stepped inside, her eyes taking in the 3 zip-tied figures on the floor without flinching. Are they alive? Unfortunately for them. Good. We'll need to question them. She pulled out a phone, typed rapidly. I have a cleanup crew 3 minutes out. They'll handle this quietly. Who are you exactly? Victoria met his eyes. Publicly? I'm the CEO of Victoria Cross Industries. We make guidance systems for military satellites. Privately? I'm a woman who made something I shouldn't have, and now everyone wants it. And Emma? Emma is my daughter, and she's also the only person on Earth who can activate what I created. Victoria's composure finally cracked, tears threatening at the corners of her eyes. They weren't trying to kidnap her, Logan. They were trying to acquire her, like she's a piece of hardware instead of a little girl who likes Disney princesses and dinosaurs. A small voice came from the top of the stairs. Mama! Emma stood there, Chloe beside her. Logan hadn't heard them leave the safe room, a problem he'd address later with his daughter. Emma! Victoria rushed up the stairs, falling to her knees to embrace her daughter. Oh, baby, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. The bad men came, just like you said they would, Emma said, her voice steady in a way that broke Logan's heart. No 10-year-old should be that calm about attempts on their life. But Mr. Logan stopped them. He smells like Daddy used to, like oil and metal and safety. Victoria looked up at Logan over her daughter's head, and he saw the moment she made a decision that would change all their lives. Logan, I need to ask you something impossible, she said. I need you to protect Emma for the next 72 hours while I dismantle everything I've built and disappear us into witness protection. The federal marshals are already preparing our exit strategy, but there's a gap. 3 days where we're vulnerable, where everyone who wants what I created will make their move. Why me? Because you're not in anyone's system as connected to us. Because you have the skills. And because, She hesitated, then pulled out a photograph from her jacket. It was old, creased, taken in a field hospital. Logan recognized himself, younger, covered in dust and blood, carrying a wounded soldier. Because you saved my brother's life in Fallujah. Staff Sergeant Michael Cross. You carried him 2 miles through enemy fire after the IED hit your convoy. Logan stared at the photo. He remembered that day. The heat, the weight of the wounded man, the bullets snapping past his head like angry hornets. He remembered refusing to leave anyone behind, even when his shoulder screamed in agony from the shrapnel embedded deep in the joint. Michael talked about you until the day he died, Victoria continued. Cancer, 2 years ago. He said if I ever needed help, real help, I should find Logan Hayes, that you were the only man he'd trust with his life, or the lives of those he loved. Mama, Emma said, are we going to stay with Mr. Logan and Chloe? Just for a few days, baby. If Mr. Logan agrees. Logan looked at the girl, at Chloe, who was already holding Emma's hand like they'd been friends forever, at Victoria, who was asking him to step back into a world he'd left behind. The smart play was to say no. Call the police, let the federal marshals handle it, keep his daughter safe and separate from whatever storm was coming. But he'd never made the smart play. Not when it mattered. 3 days, he said. But we do this my way. My rules, my tactics. Victoria nodded. Whatever you need. First, your cleanup crew handles the garage, but they don't touch my security systems. Second, we're not staying here. I have a place off the grid, properly defensible. Third, you tell me everything. Not the corporate version, not the redacted version. Everything. Agreed. A van pulled up outside. No markings, but Logan recognized the type. Corporate cleaners, the kind that made problems disappear and surfaces spotless. 3 men entered, assessed the situation with professional detachment, and began loading the unconscious kidnappers. One more thing, Logan said. The one with the broken knee. He stays conscious during transport. I want him talking. Find out who sent them, how many more are coming, and what they know about Emma. Victoria nodded to the cleanup crew leader, who produced a syringe. Adrenaline shot. He'll be awake and chatty in about 30 seconds. As the crew worked, Logan gathered supplies. Bug-out bags he'd prepared for him and Chloe, weapons from his safe, encrypted phones he'd never thought he'd need. Chloe helped Emma pack some of her clothes into a spare backpack, the 2 girls treating it like an adventure rather than a flight from danger. Mr. Hayes, one of the cleanup crew said, holding out a tablet. The subject is ready to talk. On the screen, the wounded kidnapper sat in what looked like a medical van, his knees stabilized but clearly causing him agony. His mask had been removed, revealing a face Logan recognized with a chill. Corporal Davis, Logan said, 3rd Battalion. You were in Kandahar. Davis's eyes widened in recognition. Sergeant Hayes? Jesus, they didn't tell us it was you. Who's they, Davis? Private military. Blackstone Solutions. They've got a contract, $50 million to acquire the girl and her mother. Said it was a simple grab, in and out, no real resistance expected. How many teams? 4 that I know of. We were the probe. If we failed, Beta team goes in hard, full tactical assault, no witnesses. Logan checked his watch. 1:23 a.m. Beta team would mobilize within the hour, hit before dawn when response times were slowest. When? He asked. 0500 hours. But Sarge, that's not the worst part. Davis grimaced as he shifted. There's another bidder. Russian intelligence. They've got assets embedded locally, been watching the family for weeks. This isn't just Blackstone. It's about to become a free-for-all. Logan cut the feed. Victoria had gone pale, holding Emma tighter. We leave now, Logan said. Victoria, your car's too visible. We take my truck. I have protection details, who are either compromised or useless against what's coming. Logan's tone brooked no argument. From this moment, you trust me or you find someone else. Victoria nodded. We trust you. They moved quickly but calmly. Logan's truck, a modified F-150 with reinforced panels and run-flat tires, sat behind the garage. He'd bought it from a DEA auction, one of their seized vehicles already equipped for the worst-case scenarios he'd tried to stop imagining. Chloe, Emma, in the back. Stay low until I say otherwise. The girls climbed in, Chloe showing Emma how to buckle into the special harness seats. Victoria, up front, keep your head below the window line. As they pulled out, Logan caught movement in his peripheral vision. A sedan that had been parked 3 blocks down started its engine. Then another behind them. "We have tails," he said calmly. 2 vehicles, possibly more. Victoria twisted to look, but Logan stopped her with a hand on her shoulder. "Eyes forward." Trust me, he drove normally for 6 blocks, letting them think he hadn't noticed. Then he turned into the industrial district where the roads became a maze of warehouses and loading docks. This was his territory. He'd memorized every alley, every dead end, every possible escape route during his first paranoid year in town. "Hold on," he said, then yanked the wheel hard right. The truck shot through a narrow gap between 2 buildings, side mirrors nearly scraping brick. The first sedan tried to follow, misjudged the width, and wedged itself between the walls with a grinding crash. The second sedan braked hard, trying to reverse, but Logan was already backing up at full speed. The truck's reinforced rear bumper connected with the sedan's front end at 30 miles per hour. Airbags deployed, stunning the occupants. Logan shifted to drive and disappeared into the maze of industrial roads. 20 minutes and 6 direction changes later, he pulled into an abandoned warehouse where he kept another vehicle, a nondescript minivan with stolen plates and a full tank of gas. "Change of vehicles," he said. "Move fast." They transferred in under 60 seconds. As Logan drove the minivan out the warehouse's back entrance, the truck's emergency beacon activated, a false trail for anyone tracking its GPS. "Where are we going?" Emma asked from the back seat, her voice small but curious rather than afraid. "Camping?" Chloe announced with the confidence of someone who'd done this drill before. "Daddy has a secret cabin. It has a wood stove and everything." Logan caught Victoria's questioning look. 3 years ago, after Sarah died, I needed a project, something to focus on besides grief. So I built a place. 60 acres of woods in the mountains, completely off-grid, single-access road with natural choke points. It was therapy that happened to create the perfect safe house. "You've been preparing for something like this?" "I've been preparing for the world to end, Ms. Cross. Your situation is actually less complicated than most of my scenarios." The minivan climbed into the Virginia mountains as the clock pushed toward 3 a.m. Emma and Chloe had fallen asleep, leaning against each other like sisters. Victoria stared out at the darkness, her reflection in the window showing the weight of whatever secret she carried. "It's called Valkyrie," she said suddenly. "What?" "The project. What I created. We called it Valkyrie." She turned to face him. "It was supposed to be a defensive system, artificial intelligence designed to predict and prevent cyber attacks on critical infrastructure. But it evolved, learned, became something else. Something worse? Something perfect," Victoria said. "Too perfect. It can access any system, break any encryption, control any network. In the right hands, it could prevent wars, stop terrorist attacks before they happen, protect millions. In the wrong hands, it could start wars, cause attacks, kill millions," Logan finished. "The DoD wanted to weaponize it immediately. Foreign governments started making offers, then threats. I tried to destroy it, but Valkyrie protected itself, distributed its code across thousands of servers. The only way to truly activate or deactivate it is through a biological key, DNA-locked, neural pattern specific." "Emma." Victoria nodded. "I used my daughter's biometrics as the key, thinking it would keep the system safe. Instead, I painted a target on her back. Every intelligence agency, terrorist organization, and corporate military contractor in the world knows that whoever controls Emma controls Valkyrie." Logan processed this, his tactical mind already adjusting strategies. This wasn't just about protecting a girl from kidnappers. This was about preventing a 10-year-old from becoming the key to digital Armageddon. "The federal marshals," he said, "they're not just relocating you. They're helping me destroy Valkyrie completely. 72 hours to upload a kill code that will erase every trace of it. But the upload has to be initiated from specific servers, and it has to be maintained without interruption. If anyone gets to Emma during that window, they can stop the destruction and take control." Logan turned onto a barely visible dirt road, the minivan's headlights cutting through dense forest. No wonder everyone's moving now. The road wound upward for 5 miles, growing rougher with each turn. Finally, a cabin materialized from the darkness, log construction, single story, with sight lines in every direction and the forest as a natural barrier. "Home sweet hideout," Logan said, parking the minivan in a camouflaged carport. He carried Chloe inside while Victoria guided a sleepy Emma. The cabin's interior was Spartan but comfortable. A main room with a stone fireplace, small kitchen, 2 bedrooms, and a basement Logan had converted into something more. "I'll show you the defensive measures in the morning," he said, settling Chloe into her bed. Emma curled up beside her without prompting, the 2 girls instinctively seeking comfort and proximity. Victoria stood in the doorway, watching them. "She hasn't had a friend her age in 2 years. We've been running, hiding, homeschooling. She's been so alone." "Not anymore," Logan said. "For the next 3 days, she's just a kid on a camping trip with her new best friend." He showed Victoria to the second bedroom, then began his security routine. Motion sensors activated, cameras online, early warning systems armed. The basement arsenal checked and ready, enough firepower to hold off a small army, which might be exactly what was coming. At 4 a.m., his encrypted phone buzzed, a message from an old Delta Force colleague who now worked intelligence. "Brother, you've stepped in it. Blackstone's mobilizing everything. Russians have a Spetsnaz team inbound. Even the Chinese are activating assets. Whatever you're protecting, half the world wants it. Good luck." Logan deleted the message and settled into a chair facing the cabin's entrance, Glock in his lap, coffee in his hand. Outside, the forest was silent except for normal night sounds. Owls, wind through leaves, a distant coyote. But Logan knew this was the calm before the storm. In 44 hours, Victoria would begin uploading the kill code. Every hostile force would converge, desperate to claim Emma before Valkyrie disappeared forever. He thought about the girl sleeping next to his daughter, how she'd said he smelled like safety. He thought about Michael Cross, dying of cancer, but still believing Logan Hayes was the one man who could be trusted when everything went wrong. He thought about Sarah, his wife, who'd made him promise before she died that he'd keep Chloe safe, no matter what. And he thought about himself, a broken soldier trying to be a simple mechanic, dragged back into the chaos because he couldn't ignore a child's scream in the dark. The sun would rise in 2 hours. With it would come the first real test of whether Logan Hayes still had what it took to stand between innocence and evil. He checked the Glock's chamber again, more from habit than necessity, and waited for war to find him one more time. The first attack came at dawn, exactly as Logan had predicted. He was already in position, having moved to the cabin's reinforced observation post 30 minutes before sunrise. Through the scope of his rifle, he watched 3 figures in woodland camouflage moving through the trees with practiced stealth. They were good, using proper spacing and cover, but they'd made one critical mistake. They assumed they were hunting a civilian target. "Victoria," Logan said quietly into his throat mic, "we have company. 3 operators, northern approach. Wake the girls quietly and move them to the basement safe room." He heard her acknowledge with 2 clicks, then the soft sounds of movement inside the cabin. Logan tracked the lead figure through his scope. The man was placing something on a tree trunk. Motion sensors. They wanted early warning of anyone trying to escape. Logan smiled grimly. They still didn't understand they weren't surrounding prey. They'd walked into a predator's den. The modified crossbow beside him made no sound as he fired. The bolt struck the motion sensor, destroying it and embedding itself in the tree with a soft thunk. The operative froze, hand moving to his weapon, but Logan was already shifting position through the network of concealed paths he'd built around the cabin's perimeter. 20 feet to the left, hidden beneath a camouflaged blind, Logan watched the team leader signal for his men to spread out. They'd recognized the tactical precision of the shot, knew they were dealing with someone trained. Good. Let them be nervous. The second man moved toward the cabin's eastern approach, where Logan had spent months creating what looked like natural forest but was actually a kill box. Fallen logs positioned to funnel movement, branches arranged to limit sight lines, ground covered with materials that would crunch underfoot no matter how carefully someone stepped. The operative entered the kill box and immediately sensed something wrong. His head swiveled, searching for the threat his instinct screamed was there. But instinct was no match for preparation. Logan triggered the first trap, not lethal. Not yet. A flashbang concealed in a hollow log detonated with crushing sound and blinding light. The operative stumbled, disoriented, and Logan emerged from concealment like a shadow given form. A precise strike to the carotid artery dropped the man unconscious in seconds. 2-1 is down! The team leader's voice crackled over a radio Logan liberated from the unconscious man's vest. Converge on eastern sector. But Logan was already gone, moving through his forest with the fluid grace of someone who knew every root, every branch, every shadow. He circled behind the third operative, who was advancing on his teammate's last position with his rifle raised. The man never heard Logan approach. A rear naked choke, properly applied, cut off blood flow to the brain in seconds. Logan lowered the unconscious form gently to the forest floor, zip-tied his hands and feet, and took his weapons. That left the team leader, who had taken cover behind a large oak, clearly reassessing the situation. Logan could hear him speaking rapidly into his radio, calling for backup, reporting that the target was defended by a professional. Actually, Logan said, stepping out 20 feet to the man's left with the operative's own rifle trained on him, I prefer the term exceptionally motivated father. The team leader started to swing his weapon around, but Logan fired a burst into the tree inches from his head. Bark exploded in a shower of splinters. Drop it, Logan commanded. Hands on your head. You know the drill. The man complied, his face a mix of anger and professional respect. You're Logan Hayes, Delta Force legend. What the hell are you doing playing bodyguard? Retirement's boring, Logan said, zip-tying the man's hands. Who sent you? You know I can't. Logan pressed the rifle barrel against the man's knee. I've got 2 little girls in that cabin, one of them mine. That means I'm not playing by anyone's rules but my own. Who sent you? The team leader's expression shifted as he realized Logan wasn't bluffing. Blackstone. But we're just the first wave. There's a full assault team 10 minutes behind us, and the Russians are coming from the east. You can't win this. Watch me, Logan said, then knocked the man unconscious with the rifle butt. He dragged all 3 operatives to a depression he'd dug months ago for this exact purpose, deep enough to hold them, covered with a camouflaged grate that would keep them secure but alive. Then he sprinted back to the cabin. Victoria met him at the door, her face pale but determined. The girls? Safe in the basement. I've activated the emergency beacon for Chloe's godfather. He's former Special Forces, lives 40 minutes away. But Logan, I monitored the communications. There are at least 12 more coming. Then we need to make them think twice. Logan moved to a hidden panel in the wall, revealing an arsenal that made Victoria's eyes widen. Can you shoot? I went to summer camp, she said weakly. Good enough. He handed her a shotgun. Point and click. The spread will do the rest. Through the window, Logan saw vehicles approaching on the access road. 2 SUVs and a van, moving fast. No attempt at stealth now. They'd received the team leader's distress call and switched from infiltration to assault. Emma! Chloe's voice carried from the basement. Emma, wake up! Something's wrong! Logan heard Victoria's daughter crying, the sound tearing at something primal in his chest. No child should wake to the sound of approaching danger. Go to them, he told Victoria. Keep them calm. I'll handle this. 12 men, Logan. You can't. I've handled worse with less. He checked his rifle, slipped extra magazines into his vest. There's an escape tunnel in the basement. Leads to a hidden exit 50 meters into the forest. If things go bad, things won't go bad, Victoria interrupted, surprising him with her fierce certainty. Because you're Logan Hayes. Michael said you once held off an entire Taliban battalion with nothing but a rifle and righteous fury. Your brother exaggerated. Did he? Logan didn't answer, because the vehicles had stopped just outside effective rifle range. Smart. They were assembling, preparing for a coordinated assault. Through his scope, he counted 14 operatives in full tactical gear. The team leader hadn't been wrong about the numbers, but numbers had never been the deciding factor in combat. Terrain, preparation, and will. Those won wars. Logan activated his phone, connecting to the network of cameras he'd hidden throughout the property. The feed showed him everything. The main assault team preparing to advance, a flanking unit moving through the eastern woods, and his blood chilled, another group approaching from the south. 3 teams, at least 25 operators total. The phone rang. Unknown number. Hayes, he answered. Mr. Hayes, this is Colonel Morrison, Blackstone Solutions. The voice was crisp, military. You're outnumbered and outgunned. Surrender the asset, and we guarantee safe passage for you and your daughter. The asset, Logan said, rage building in his voice, is a 10-year-old girl named Emma who likes dinosaurs and Disney princesses. She's the key to a weapons system that could destabilize global security. She's a child. She's both, Morrison admitted. But that doesn't change the situation. You have 60 seconds to comply. Logan hung up and triggered his first surprise. The explosions weren't meant to kill. He'd promised himself that much. But the Claymore mines he'd modified with flashbang charges instead of ball bearings sent the advancing teams diving for cover as the forest erupted in thunder and light. Trees he'd weakened months ago fell in calculated patterns, creating barriers and blocking sight lines. In the chaos, Logan moved. He flowed through the smoke and confusion like death itself, targeting weapons and communications. His rifle spoke in precise 3-round bursts, destroying radios, shattering rifle optics, sending weapons spinning from shocked hands. He wasn't trying to kill them. He was trying to break them. An operative rounded a tree directly in front of him. Logan struck with the rifle butt, shattering the man's nose beneath his tactical mask, then swept his legs and zip-tied him before he could recover. Another came from the left. Logan threw a handful of dirt and debris into his face, following with a knee strike that folded the man in half. "Contact! Contact!" voices shouted through the smoke. "Where is he?" "Everywhere," Logan whispered, already moving to his next position. He'd turned his 60 acres into a maze of predetermined routes and prepositioned supplies. Every third tree had a weapons cache. Every cluster of rocks hid smoke grenades or flashbangs. This wasn't just his land. It was an extension of his will. The southern team tried to flank wide, moving through what they thought was undefended forest. They triggered the tripwires Logan had strung at ankle height, sending them sprawling. As they tried to recover, Logan activated the sprinkler system he'd installed. Not water, but pepper spray mixed with UV dye. Their screams echoed through the trees as they clawed at their masks and eyes. "Fall back! Fall back!" Morrison's voice overcaptured radios. "Regroup at the vehicles!" But Logan had already circled to their rear. The vehicles were his next target, not to destroy, but to disable. His rifle punched through tire after tire, turning their escape route into immobilized metal. An operative guarding the vehicles spun toward him, but Logan had already thrown a smoke grenade, disappearing into the artificial fog. Inside the cabin, Victoria held the shotgun with trembling hands, listening to the battle outside. The girls huddled behind her in the basement safe room, Chloe trying to be brave for Emma. "Is Mr. Logan going to be okay?" Emma whispered. "He's going to be fine," Chloe said with the absolute certainty of a child who believed her father was invincible. "Daddy's really good at protecting people. It's what he used to do before he fixed cars." Another explosion shook the cabin, closer this time. Victoria checked the monitors Logan had shown her. 3 operatives were approaching the front door, having somehow slipped through the chaos outside. "Girls," Victoria said, trying to keep her voice steady, "remember what Logan said. If anyone comes down here who isn't him or me, hit the red button," Chloe recited. "It locks the door and calls for help." Victoria climbed the basement stairs, shotgun heavy in her hands. Through the front window, she could see the 3 men preparing to breach. Her hand shook as she raised the weapon. The door exploded inward. Victoria fired without thinking, the shotgun's roar deafening in the enclosed space. The spread of buckshot caught the first man's center mass, his body armor absorbing most of the impact, but the force sending him tumbling backward. She pumped and fired again, this time catching the second man's leg. He went down screaming. The third man's rifle swung toward her. Time slowed. Victoria saw her death in the black circle of the barrel. Then Logan came through the window like an avenging angel. Glass shattered around him as he rolled, came up, and put 2 rounds into the operative's shoulder. The man spun and fell. Logan kicked his rifle away, then checked the other 2, alive but incapacitated. "You okay?" he asked Victoria. She nodded, unable to speak, adrenaline making her entire body shake. "You did good," Logan said. "Really good. But it's not over." Through the broken window, they could see more operatives regrouping. But something else caught Logan's attention. Movement in the forest beyond the Blackstone mercenaries. Different tactics, different gear. The Russians, he muttered. They're using Blackstone's assault as cover. His phone rang. Colonel Morrison again. Nice tricks, Hayes, the colonel said. But the Russians just entered the game. Spetsnaz team, 8 operators. They'll kill everyone to get the girl. Work with us, and we can... The phone exploded in Logan's hand as a sniper's bullet found it. He pulled Victoria down as more rounds punched through the cabin's walls. Basement, now! Logan shouted. They ran for the stairs as windows shattered throughout the cabin. In the safe room, the girls were crying, holding each other. Daddy! Chloe reached for him. It's okay, baby. We're okay. Logan's mind raced through options. The Russians had changed everything. They wouldn't negotiate, wouldn't take prisoners. This was now a kill-or-be-killed situation. His encrypted phone, the backup, buzzed. A text from an unknown number, but the code word identified it as his old Delta teammate, Rick Morrison, Chloe's godfather. 5 minutes out, bringing friends, 5 minutes. They just had to survive 5 more minutes. Logan looked at Victoria, at the girls, at the arsenal he'd built to protect them. He'd promised to keep them safe for 72 hours. They'd barely made it through 6. Victoria, he said, I need you to do exactly what I say. She nodded, the shotgun steady in her hands now, her fear transformed into determination. There's something in that case. Logan pointed to a metal container in the corner. Something I swore I'd never use again. But those are Spetsnaz operatives out there, and they don't play by any rules. Victoria opened the case, revealing military-grade hardware that definitely wasn't legal for civilian possession. What is this? Insurance, Logan said, pulling out what looked like a modified tablet. Every camera, every sensor, every trap on this property feeds into this. I can see everything, control everything. But more importantly, he flipped a switch. I can make them see things that aren't there. The tablet showed multiple feeds from hidden projectors throughout the forest. With a few taps, Logan activated them. Suddenly, the woods were full of movement, holograms of armed figures, fake muzzle flashes, recorded sounds of gunfire from speakers hidden in trees. Battlefield deception, Logan explained. The Russians will engage the false targets, reveal their positions. When they do, an explosion outside cut him off. Not his this time. The Russians and Blackstone forces had made contact, each thinking the other was protecting the target. They're fighting each other, Victoria said, watching the monitor feeds. For now, but once they realize... Another explosion, massive this time. The cabin shook, dust falling from the ceiling. Through the cameras, Logan saw smoke rising from the forest. Someone had used heavy ordnance. Mr. Logan? Emma's small voice drew his attention. I can stop this. Everyone turned to look at the girl. Emma, no, Victoria said immediately. But I can, Emma insisted. The Valkyrie protocol. If I activate it, they'll have to stop fighting. They'll need me conscious and cooperative to control it. Logan knelt in front of her. Emma, if you activate that system... I know, she said, far too wise for her years. But if people are dying because of me, no one's dying because of you, Logan said firmly. They're dying because of greed, because they want power. You're just a little girl who deserves to be safe. The tactical tablet beeped. Proximity alert. Someone was in the escape tunnel. Logan raised his rifle, positioning himself between the tunnel entrance and the girls. The hidden door opened slowly. Easy, brother, a familiar voice called. It's Rick. And I brought the cavalry. Rick Morrison emerged. Not Colonel Morrison from Blackstone, but Lieutenant Colonel Richard Morrison, Delta Force, retired. Behind him came 6 more operators, all wearing the casual civilian clothes that barely disguised their lethal capability. Sorry we're late, Rick said, clasping Logan's hand. Traffic was murder. Though not as murdery as your front yard. You've got about 40 hostiles out there shooting at each other. 43, Logan corrected, plus whoever's inbound. About that, one of Rick's men said, checking his phone. NSA just went active. They're monitoring everything within 100 miles. FBI HRT is mobilizing. And someone very high up the food chain just authorized military intervention. Victoria's phone rang. She looked at the screen, surprised. It's the Attorney General. She answered, listened, then handed the phone to Logan. He wants to talk to you. Mr. Hayes, the Attorney General's voice was tired but determined. I apologize for how this has spiraled. We have federal teams 30 minutes out, but I need you to hold until then. Can you do that? Depends, Logan said. Are your teams coming to help or to take Emma? To arrest everyone who's violated federal law by attacking American citizens on American soil. Emma Cross and her mother are under federal protection. Anyone who tries to take them will face the full weight of the United States government. With respect, sir, where was that weight 6 hours ago? Being held back by people who've now been removed from their positions. The president just cleaned house, Mr. Hayes. We're coming to help. You have my word. Logan looked at Rick, who nodded. His old teammate had connections, could verify if this was real or another deception. All right, Logan said. We hold for 30 minutes. Another explosion outside, closer this time. Through the monitors, Logan could see the Russians had realized Blackstone's deception and were coordinating an assault on the cabin itself. They're coming, Rick said, checking his own tablet. Both sides, working together now. Logan did the math. 7 defenders, even elite ones, against 40-plus attackers. The cabin was fortified but not impregnable. They had limited ammunition, limited space to maneuver. Rick, Logan said, remember Kandahar? That warehouse? Rick grinned. You're not thinking. I am. That's insane. That's why it'll work. Logan turned to Victoria and the girls. New plan. We're leaving. What? Victoria looked confused. But the tunnel's compromised and outside, but we're not going out, Logan said. We're going down. He moved to what looked like a solid section of floor, but his fingers found hidden latches. A section lifted away, revealing a shaft dropping into darkness. You built a bunker under your bunker? Rick asked, impressed. I built a lot of things, Logan said. This connects to a natural cave system. Comes out 2 miles north, where I have vehicles cached. The bad men will follow, Emma said. No, Logan smiled grimly. They won't. He began setting charges throughout the basement, not enough to bring down the cabin, but enough to collapse the basement ceiling once they were clear. Logan, Victoria said, understanding dawning in her eyes, if you seal the tunnel... I have 4 other exits, he said, but they don't know that. They'll waste time digging through rubble while we disappear. Gunfire erupted directly above them. The Russians and Blackstone forces had reached the cabin. Go, Logan ordered. Rick, take point. Victoria, keep the girls between you and Rick's men. I'll cover our 6. One by one, they descended into the shaft. Logan went last, pausing to activate one final surprise. Throughout the cabin, speakers began broadcasting, not his voice, but recordings he'd made of Victoria and Emma, conversations that would make the attackers think their targets were still inside. The shaft led to a natural limestone cave, part of the system that ran beneath the Virginia mountains. Logan had spent months exploring it, marking routes, positioning supplies. LED strips provided minimal lighting, just enough to navigate. This is incredible, Victoria whispered, her voice echoing off the stone. Daddy likes to be prepared, Chloe said, holding Emma's hand as they moved through the cave. Behind them, Logan heard the cabin's front door crash open. Boots thundered across the floor above. Shouts in Russian and English as both forces searched for their prizes. 3 minutes, Logan said, checking his watch. They moved faster through the cave, following the route Logan had marked with UV paint, only visible through the special glasses he'd distributed. The path twisted and turned, sometimes opening into vast chambers, other times narrowing so much they had to move single file. Mr. Logan, Emma said as they walked, why are you doing this? We're not your family. Logan thought about how to answer that. You know what makes someone family, Emma? Blood? She guessed. No. Choice. He glanced back at her. The moment I heard you scream, you became my responsibility. The moment you trusted me, you became family. That's how it works. 2 minutes, Rick warned. They reached a junction where 3 passages met. Logan had staged supplies here, water, food, weapons, even toys for Chloe if they ever needed to shelter for extended periods. Daddy, Chloe said suddenly, I hear something. Everyone froze. In the distance, echoing through the cave, came the sound of voices. The attackers had found the shaft. Move, Logan ordered. They ran now, all pretense of stealth abandoned. The cave floor was uneven, treacherous in places, but Logan had walked this route dozens of times. He guided them through the darkness, counting down in his head. 10 seconds, he said. They rounded a corner into a chamber Logan had reinforced with steel beams. He pushed everyone against the far wall, shielding the girls with his body. The explosion, when it came, was muffled by tons of rock and distance, but they still felt it. A vibration through the stone, a shift in air pressure. Dust rained from the ceiling. The tunnel? Victoria asked. Sealed, Logan confirmed. It'll take them hours to dig through, if they even try. They continued through the cave system for another 20 minutes before Logan led them up a concealed exit hidden beneath the root system of a massive oak tree. They emerged in a dense grove 2 miles from the cabin. 3 vehicles waited under camouflaged netting, an SUV, a van, and another modified truck. How? Victoria asked, staring at the vehicles. I told you, Logan said. I prepare for the end of the world. Rick's phone buzzed. Federal forces just hit your cabin. 47 arrests so far. The Russians are claiming diplomatic immunity, but nobody's buying it. Where do we go now? Victoria asked. Logan looked at the girls. Emma was exhausted, traumatized, but still standing. Chloe was holding her hand, offering the silent support children instinctively give each other. FBI has a safe house 20 miles east, Rick said. Full federal protection until Victoria can complete the Valkyrie shutdown. No, Logan said, surprising everyone. That's what they'll expect. Victoria, how mobile is the shutdown process? I need a secure internet connection and about 6 hours of uninterrupted time. Rick, you still have that cabin on Lake Anna? Yeah, but no one connects you to me officially. Your cabin's not in any database related to this situation. Logan turned to Victoria. We go there, you do your work, and Emma stays safe. Once Valkyrie's dead, she's just a normal kid again. Victoria nodded slowly. That could work. One problem, Rick said. The lake's an hour away. Every road will be watched. Logan smiled. Who said anything about roads? He led them deeper into the grove, where a trail led to a river. Hidden under more camo netting was a military surplus boat, fully fueled and supplied. The river connects to Lake Anna, Logan explained. 40 minutes by water, no checkpoints, no surveillance. You really did prepare for everything, Victoria said, wonder in her voice. Not everything, Logan admitted, looking at Emma. I never prepared for a little girl to trust me with her life. That's new. As they prepared to board the boat, Emma tugged on Logan's sleeve. Mr. Logan? When this is over, can we still be friends? Chloe and me? Friends? Kid, after this, your family, both of you. They loaded into the boat as the sun climbed higher in the sky, marking 7 hours since this all began. Behind them, smoke rose from the direction of Logan's cabin, where federal forces were still processing the scene. Ahead, the river stretched peaceful and empty, a hidden path to safety. But Logan knew this wasn't over. Killing Valkyrie would take time, and every intelligence agency in the world now knew Emma Cross existed. Even after the AI was destroyed, there would be those who believed she might be the key to something else, some other project, some future weapon. Logan, Victoria said quietly as he started the boat's engine. After this is done, after Valkyrie is destroyed, what happens to us? Witness protection, probably. New identities, new life. And you? Logan looked at Chloe and Emma, already talking and giggling despite everything they'd been through, the resilience of children shining through trauma. I go back to fixing cars, he said. Unless you need someone to watch your 6 in that new life. Single mom, new city, people might still be looking for you. Could be you need a mechanic around. Someone who fixes things. Victoria smiled, the first genuine smile he'd seen from her. Are you offering to come with us? I'm offering to keep Emma safe. And Chloe needs a friend. The rest, he shrugged. We'll figure it out. The boat pulled away from the shore, heading downriver toward an uncertain future. Behind them, the war for Valkyrie raged on, but the prize had already slipped away, protected by a soldier who'd found a new mission and a family that had chosen each other in the midst of chaos. As they navigated the river, Logan's phone buzzed with a message from the Attorney General. Federal forces have secured your property. Blackstone and foreign operatives in custody. You have the full support of the United States government. Keep them safe, Mr. Hayes. Logan deleted the message and focused on the river ahead. Keep them safe. That was the mission now. Not for 72 hours, not until Valkyrie was dead, but for as long as they needed him. The girl's laughter drifted back to him over the sound of the engine, and for the first time since Sarah's death, Logan felt something he'd thought was gone forever. Hope. Not just for survival, but for an actual future. A strange, complicated, dangerous future, but one where two little girls could grow up as sisters, where their parents could find peace, where a broken soldier could maybe, finally, stop fighting and start living. The sun climbed higher, burning away the morning mist, revealing the river's path clear and bright ahead of them. The boat cut through the morning mist like a knife through silk, its engine purring at a steady rhythm that Logan had carefully calibrated to minimize sound while maximizing speed. Rick's men had taken defensive positions throughout the vessel, their trained eyes scanning the riverbanks for any sign of pursuit. The girls sat in the center, wrapped in thermal blankets, Chloe teaching Emma a clapping game she'd learned at school. "Surveillance drone, 2 o'clock, one of Rick's men murmured, not moving his head. Logan adjusted their course slightly, guiding the boat under the overhanging branches of riverside willows. The natural canopy would disrupt most thermal imaging, and the boat's hull had been painted with radar-absorbing material during one of his more paranoid preparation phases. "They're grid searching," Rick observed, watching the drone's flight pattern through binoculars. "Professional work. Not military, though. Probably corporate." "Blackstone's not done," Logan said. "Even with their team in federal custody, they've got resources." Victoria looked up from her laptop where she'd been preparing the Valkyrie shutdown protocols. $50 million tends to motivate people. "Mama, I'm scared," Emma said suddenly, her brave facade cracking. Victoria started to move toward her daughter, but Chloe got there first, wrapping her arms around Emma with the fierce protectiveness of a big sister. "It's okay," Chloe said. "My daddy won't let anything happen to us. He's the strongest, bravest person in the whole world. He even saved my mom once when she was really sick. He stayed awake for 3 whole days just to make sure she was breathing right." Logan's throat tightened at the memory. Sarah's last days, when the cancer had spread to her lungs, when every breath was a battle. He'd indeed stayed awake, counting her respirations, adjusting her oxygen, willing her to keep fighting even when they both knew the war was lost. "Your mom must have been special," Emma said softly. "She was," Chloe agreed. "She smelled like vanilla and sunshine. Daddy says I have her smile." "You do," Logan confirmed, his voice rougher than intended. The river widened as they approached a bend, and Logan tensed. Open water meant exposure, but there was no way around it. He pushed the throttle forward, the boat surging ahead. That's when he saw it. A flash of reflected sunlight from the opposite bank. Scope glare. Amateur mistake, but the bullet that cracked past his head was definitely professional. "Contact!" Logan shouted, spinning the wheel hard to port. Rick's men reacted instantly, returning fire with disciplined bursts while Logan zigzagged the boat across the river. Victoria threw herself over the girls, shielding them with her body as bullets sparked off the boat's reinforced hull. "There!" Rick pointed to a speedboat emerging from a hidden inlet ahead, then another from behind. A classic pincer movement. Logan made a calculation in the split second he had available. The speedboats were faster, more maneuverable. In open water, they'd lose, but the river had secrets, and Logan had spent 3 years learning every one of them. "Hold on," he warned, then yanked the wheel hard to starboard. The boat lurched toward what looked like solid riverbank, but Logan knew better. Hidden behind a curtain of hanging vines was a narrow channel, barely wide enough for their boat. He'd discovered it during a fishing trip with Chloe, when she'd insisted on exploring every secret passage they could find. They burst through the vines into a tunnel of green, branches scraping the boat's sides. Behind them, Logan heard the pursuing speedboats trying to follow. A crash, then cursing. One had misjudged the entrance, its wider beam wedging between the banks. The channel twisted and turned, sometimes so narrow Logan had to reduce speed to a crawl. Emma was crying now, her brave front completely shattered. Chloe held her tighter, whispering words Logan couldn't hear but recognized in tone. The same comforting nonsense he'd whispered to Chloe during thunderstorms when she was younger. "Logan," Victoria said urgently, "I need 15 minutes of stable connection to initiate the shutdown. The laptop satellite uplink can't maintain signal while we're moving like this." 15 minutes in one place makes us sitting ducks, Rick said. Logan's mind raced through options. Then he remembered something, an old fishing cabin on a river island about 2 miles ahead. Abandoned for years, but he'd reinforced it during one of his preparation runs. More importantly, it had clear satellite visibility and multiple escape routes. "I know a place," he said. The channel opened back to the main river, and Logan immediately saw they had a problem. 3 more boats were waiting, spread across the water in a blockade formation. Professional deployment, overlapping fields of fire. No way through without taking casualties. "Ideas?" Rick asked, checking his ammunition. Logan looked at the boats, at the river, at his passengers. Then he smiled. The kind of smile that had terrified enemies across 3 continents. "Yeah," he said. "We go through them." "That's suicide." "No," Logan cut him off. "That's physics." He reached under the console and pulled out a device that looked like a modified flare gun. Electromagnetic pulse generator. Homebrew, short range, single use. Kills any engine electronics within 50 meters. "That'll kill our engine too," Rick pointed out. "Our engine doesn't have electronics," Logan said. "I rebuilt it myself, purely mechanical, Vietnam-era design. Runs rough, drinks fuel, but EMP-proof." "You magnificent paranoid bastard," Rick laughed. Logan turned to the girls. "Chloe? Emma? I need you to be very brave for the next 2 minutes. Can you do that?" Both girls nodded, faces pale, but determined. "When I say down, everyone hits the deck," Logan instructed. "When I say up, we move fast. Ready?" He gunned the engine, the boat leaping forward like a freed animal. The blockade boats reacted, weapons rising, but Logan was already raising the EMP device. "Down!" Everyone dropped as Logan fired the device. There was no dramatic flash, no movie-style special effects, just the sudden dying of 3 engines as their electronics fried. The boat's momentum carried them forward, but without power, they were just drifting obstacles. "Up!" Logan threaded between 2 of the dead boats while their crews frantically tried to understand what had happened. A few managed to fire their weapons, but without engine power to maintain position, their aim was off. They were past the blockade in seconds, but Logan didn't slow down. The EMP would only buy them minutes before someone radioed for backup. He pushed the old engine hard, counting the landmarks until he saw it. A small island splitting the river, topped with weathered wooden structures. "That's our stop," he announced, angling toward a hidden dock on the island's backside. They tied up quickly, Rick's men establishing a perimeter while Logan led everyone to the cabin. It looked abandoned from outside. Broken windows, sagging roof, walls green with moss. But the door opened to his key, revealing a reinforced interior with solar panels, communication equipment, and enough supplies for a week. 15 minutes, Victoria said, already setting up her laptop. "That's all I need." "You'll have them," Logan promised. He positioned everyone strategically, Rick's men at key defensive points, the girls in the cabin's reinforced basement, Victoria at a desk with clear satellite visibility through a skylight. "Beginning Valkyrie termination protocol," Victoria announced, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "Connecting to distributed servers, establishing quantum encryption, initiating cascade deletion sequence." Logan watched the river through binoculars. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. No boats, no drones, nothing but the normal flow of water and the occasional bird. It was too quiet. "Rick," he said softly, "they're already here." Rick nodded. He'd felt it too, that battlefield tension when enemy forces were close but unseen. 12 minutes elapsed, Victoria reported, sweat beading on her forehead despite the cool air. "System is fighting back. Valkyrie doesn't want to die." "Nothing ever does," Logan muttered. The attack came from an unexpected direction. Not the river, but the air. A helicopter rose from behind the tree line, black and sleek. No markings. Ropes deployed from its sides. "Fast ropers," Rick shouted. 8 operators. Logan did the tactical math instantly. 8 aerial assault troops against their 7 defenders, but the attackers had surprise and high ground. The cabin was fortified, but not against an air assault. "Victoria, how much longer?" 3 minutes. The system's fighting every command, rewriting itself faster than I can delete. The first wave of operators hit the ground, moving with the fluid precision of Tier 1 special forces. Not Blackstone mercenaries. These were government assets. Someone with serious pull had decided to take Emma regardless of federal protection orders. Logan made a command decision. "Rick, hold the cabin. I'm going hunting." Before anyone could protest, he was out the back door and into the forest. The operators were good, really good. They moved in paired teams, covering each other, maintaining perfect spacing, but they were attacking a fixed position, following standard assault doctrine. Logan had written that doctrine, knew every move they'd make. He circled wide, using the island's dense undergrowth as concealment. The first pair never saw him coming. A thrown rock drew their attention left while Logan came from the right. 2 precise strikes, carotid artery, solar plexus, and both men were down, unconscious but breathing. The second pair heard the bodies fall and reacted instantly, but Logan had already displaced. He let them see him briefly, drawing their fire, then vanished into the green. While they pursued his ghost, he doubled back and took them from behind, a blood choke on one, a nerve strike on the other, 4 down, 4 to go, and they knew they were being hunted now. "Alpha team is dark," someone reported over captured comms. "Repeat, Alpha is dark." "Bravo, converge on the cabin," came the response. "Forget the father. Secure the package." But Logan was already moving to intercept Bravo team. They were approaching the cabin from the north, using smoke grenades to obscure Rick's fields of fire. Smart tactic, except Logan knew where they'd have to funnel through, a gap between 2 massive oak trees that provided the only clear approach. He was waiting when they entered the gap, but not where they expected. Logan dropped from above, having climbed one of the oaks minutes earlier. His boots connected with the first operator's shoulders, driving him into the ground. Logan rolled with the impact, came up with the man's weapon, and put controlled bursts into the second operator's vest. Not lethal, but enough to knock him down and out. 2 minutes, Victoria's voice carried from the cabin. The helicopter was repositioning, door gunner preparing to lay down suppressing fire. Logan sprinted across open ground, drawing their attention and fire. Bullets chewed up earth behind him as he dove through a cabin window, glass shattering around him. "Daddy!" Chloe screamed from the basement. "Stay down!" he shouted back. Rick and his men were returning fire, keeping the helicopter at bay, but ammunition was running low. They couldn't hold much longer. 1 minute, Victoria announced. "The core protocols are deleting, but there are backup systems fighting." The cabin door exploded inward. The last 2 operators had used the firefight as cover to reach the entrance. They moved in with textbook precision, weapons sweeping for targets. Logan reacted on instinct, throwing himself between the operators and the basement stairs. He felt the bullet impact before he heard the shot, a punch to his left shoulder that spun him against the wall. His arm went numb instantly, the same shoulder that had taken shrapnel in Fallujah. "Logan!" Victoria screamed, but Logan was already moving, pain compartmentalized, mission priority absolute. His right hand found the knife on his belt, and he threw it with desperate precision. It struck the first operator's hand, making him drop his weapon. Rick's men converged, taking down both operators with non-lethal shots. 30 seconds! Victoria was typing frantically. "Almost there!" The helicopter's door gunner opened up, heavy rounds punching through the cabin's walls. Everyone hit the floor as wood splinters filled the air like deadly snow. "I can't maintain connection!" Victoria shouted. "The satellite link is failing!" Logan looked at the laptop, at the skylight above it being shattered by gunfire, at his daughter in the basement depending on him. His left arm was useless, blood soaking his shirt, but his right hand was steady as he pulled out his phone. "Use my hotspot," he said, enabling the device's satellite connection, another paranoid preparation that was about to save them. Military-grade encryption, quantum-resistant, I pay a fortune for it. Victoria's laptop connected instantly, and her fingers resumed their dance across the keyboard. 15 seconds! The helicopter was descending, preparing to deploy more operators. Logan grabbed Rick's rifle with his good hand, braced it against the window frame, and put 3 rounds into the helicopter's tail rotor. It was an impossible shot with one arm, but Logan had made a career of impossible shots. The helicopter spun wildly, pilot fighting for control. It managed to limp away from the island, trailing smoke, forced to make an emergency landing on the far riverbank. "Done!" Victoria shouted triumphantly. "Valkyrie is dead! Every server, every backup, every trace, it's all gone." She collapsed back in her chair, exhaustion and relief warring on her face. On her screen, confirmation messages flooded in from servers worldwide as the AI's code dissolved into digital nothingness. "Emma's free," she whispered. "She's just a normal girl now." Logan slumped against the wall, his vision graying at the edges from blood loss. Rick was beside him instantly, applying pressure to the wound. "Through and through," Rick assessed. "Missed the artery, but you need a hospital." "Negative," Logan managed. "Too many questions. You were a medic 20 years ago." "Like riding a bike." Logan's attempt at a smile turned into a grimace. "The girls?" "Safe," Victoria assured him, tears streaming down her face. "Thanks to you, they're safe." Chloe and Emma emerged from the basement, and Chloe ran to her father despite everyone trying to stop her. "Daddy, you're hurt!" "Just a scratch, baby," Logan lied, pulling her against his good side with his functioning arm. "You were so brave. I'm proud of you." Emma approached slowly, her young face serious. "Mr. Logan, you got shot protecting us." "Worth it," Logan said simply. "But why?" "We're not your family," Logan interrupted. "Remember? Choice, not blood. And I choose to keep my family safe." Emma hugged him then, carefully avoiding his injured shoulder, and Logan felt something shift in his chest that had nothing to do with his wound. This was what he'd been missing since Sarah died. Not just purpose, but connection. Not just protecting, but belonging. Rick's phone buzzed. "Feds are 5 minutes out. Legitimate ones this time. Attorney General's personal detail. They'll escort us to a secure facility." "The shutdown's confirmed," Victoria said, checking her laptop one more time. "Valkyrie is completely eliminated. Emma's just Emma now." But Logan heard something in her voice, a hesitation that made his tactical instincts flare despite the pain. "What aren't you telling us?" he asked. Victoria bit her lip, then sighed. "Valkyrie is dead. But the technology, the concepts behind it, others will try to recreate it. And Emma." She stroked her daughter's hair. "Emma has a gift, her neural patterns, her cognitive architecture. She's unique. That's why Valkyrie bonded with her. Others might try to use her to create something new." "Then we keep her hidden," Logan said. "For how long? Her whole life?" Logan thought about Chloe, about the normal childhood he'd tried so hard to give her after Sarah's death. Emma deserved the same chance. "No," he said finally. "We teach her to protect herself. We give her the skills to face whatever comes, and we stand beside her when it does." Federal vehicles were pulling up to the dock, agents in tactical gear spreading out to secure the scene. The Attorney General himself stepped out of an armored SUV, his face grim. "Mr. Hayes," he said, entering the cabin and taking in Logan's wound, "we need to get you medical attention." "I need answers first," Logan replied. "Who ordered the black helicopter? Who's still coming after Emma?" The Attorney General's expression darkened. "Senator Mitchell's committee. They believe Valkyrie's technology is essential to national security. They've gone rogue using black budget resources. Can you stop them?" "The president's signing an executive order as we speak. Anyone who pursues Emma Cross or her mother will be charged with treason." "But Mr. Hayes," he paused. "There are elements within our government and others who won't be deterred by legal threats. Emma and Victoria will need long-term protection." Logan looked at Rick, who nodded slightly. They both knew what this meant. Witness protection would only go so far. Emma would need guardians, people who could teach her to survive in a world where she'd always be a target. "I have a proposal," Logan said, fighting through the pain to stay coherent. Don't hide them. Don't make Emma live in fear. Instead, give her a normal life with abnormal protection. Let her go to school, make friends, be a kid, but surround her with people who can keep her safe without her even knowing it. People like you? Logan nodded. Me, Rick, others from our unit. We rotate coverage, blend into her life. Coaches, teachers, neighbors, all trained operators who just happen to be nearby if trouble comes. The Attorney General considered this. That would require significant resources. Less than keeping her in a bunker for 18 years, Victoria interjected. And Logan's right. Emma deserves a real childhood. She's sacrificed enough. I'll take it to the president, the Attorney General said. But, Mr. Hayes, you're in no condition to protect anyone right now. As if to emphasize the point, Logan's vision wavered and he felt himself sliding sideways. Rick caught him before he hit the floor. Medical now, the Attorney General barked. As paramedics rushed in, Logan fought to stay conscious. He had more to say, more to plan, but his body was shutting down, the adrenaline that had kept him going finally exhausted. Daddy! Chloe's terrified voice cut through the fog. I'm okay, baby, he managed. Just need to rest. The last thing he saw before darkness claimed him was Emma taking Chloe's hand, comforting her the way Chloe had comforted Emma earlier. They were already sisters in every way that mattered. Logan woke in a medical facility, not a hospital, judging by the reinforced windows and guards outside his door. His shoulder was immobilized, IV lines feeding him fluids and antibiotics. Chloe was asleep in a chair beside his bed, curled up under what looked like Victoria's jacket. She hasn't left your side, Victoria said softly from across the room. 12 hours, and she refused to move. Emma. With Rick's men playing cards, if you can believe it. She's adjusting. Kids are resilient. Logan tried to sit up, winced, and settled for turning his head toward Victoria. The shutdown? Complete. Verified by NSA, CIA, and 3 independent security firms. Valkyrie is gone forever. She moved closer, sitting on the edge of his bed. Logan, what you did, I can never repay. You don't owe me anything. I owe you everything. Emma's life, her freedom, her future. Victoria's hand found his good one. The Attorney General approved your proposal. They're calling it Project Guardian. You'll lead it if you're willing. A team of ghosts protecting Emma without her knowing? Not ghosts. Family Victoria squeezed his hand. The kind you choose. Logan thought about it. Leaving his garage, his simple life fixing cars. But then he looked at Chloe, thought about Emma, about the bond the girls had formed. They needed each other, and maybe, just maybe, he and Victoria needed each other too. On one condition, he said. Name it. We do this together. All of us. No witness protection, no fake identities. Emma and Chloe grow up as sisters. You and I. He paused, uncertain how to continue. Figure it out as we go? Victoria suggested, a small smile playing at her lips. Yeah, that. She leaned down and kissed his forehead, gentle and grateful, and maybe something more. Deal. Rick entered then, grinning. Look who's back among the living. You know, brother, when I agreed to be Chloe's godfather, I didn't sign up for this level of excitement. You loved every minute of it. Maybe, Rick admitted. The president wants to give you another medal, by the way. Tell him I'd prefer a college fund for the girls. Already done. Full rides to any university they choose, courtesy of a grateful nation. Logan felt something ease in his chest. The girls would be safe, educated, prepared for whatever life threw at them. It wasn't perfect. Emma would always carry the burden of what she'd been, the knowledge that people had died trying to use her. But she wouldn't carry it alone. Mr. Logan? Emma stood in the doorway holding a piece of paper. I made you something. She approached shyly, handing him the paper. It was a drawing. 2 stick-figure girls holding hands, 2 adults beside them, all standing in front of a house. Above it, in careful child's handwriting, my family. It's perfect, Logan said, his voice thick. Chloe said you might be our dad now, Emma said uncertainly. Is that okay? Logan looked at Victoria, who was trying not to cry. Then at Chloe, who was waking up and smiling sleepily at them all. "Yeah, kiddo," he said. "That's more than okay." Outside, federal agents maintained their perimeter, protecting them from threats that might never come or might arrive tomorrow. But inside this room, in this moment, they were just a family, broken people who'd found each other in the chaos and chosen to hold on. The war for Valkyrie was over. The battle to give two girls a normal life was just beginning. But Logan Hayes had found his mission, his purpose, his reason to keep fighting. Not with weapons this time, but with love, patience, and the fierce determination to protect what mattered most. As Emma climbed onto the bed to show him more drawings, as Chloe woke up fully and joined them, as Victoria's hand stayed warm in his, Logan allowed himself a thought he hadn't entertained since Sarah's death. Maybe, just maybe, the best parts of life weren't behind him after all. The future stretched ahead, uncertain but no longer empty. There would be challenges, people who couldn't accept that Valkyrie was gone, enemies who thought Emma still held secrets, the normal trials of raising two gifted girls in an abnormal situation. But they'd face them together, this chosen family forged in fire and bonded by something stronger than blood. Logan Hayes had saved a CEO's daughter. In return, she'd saved him right back, giving him what he'd thought he'd lost forever, a reason to hope, a family to protect, and a love he'd never expected to find again. The soldier could finally rest. The father's work was just beginning. 6 months had passed since the night Logan Hayes heard a scream in the dark, and life had settled into something approaching normal, or at least their version of it. The safe house in Arlington had become home, a 2-story colonial with a white fence that looked perfectly suburban except for the reinforced windows, the discreet cameras, and the fact that their mailman was a former Navy SEAL named Torres who could assemble a rifle in 12 seconds flat. Logan stood at the kitchen window, watching Chloe and Emma play in the backyard while pretending not to notice the neighbor trimming his hedges, actually Rick's man Johnson, whose hedge trimming covered his surveillance of the street. Victoria sat at the kitchen table, reviewing security protocols on her laptop, her reading glasses perched on her nose in a way that made Logan's chest tighten with an emotion he was still learning to acknowledge. "The girl's teacher called," Victoria said without looking up. Emma corrected her during the computer science lesson. Apparently, she tried to explain that the firewall architecture the teacher described would be vulnerable to a distributed denial-of-service attack. "She's 10, Logan said, though he was smiling. "She's her mother's daughter," Victoria replied, finally meeting his eyes. "Brilliant, stubborn, and absolutely incapable of letting incorrect information stand. Sounds like someone else I know." Victoria threw a dish towel at him, which he caught easily despite his shoulders still aching on cold mornings. The physical therapy had restored most of his mobility, but some wounds never fully healed. They just became part of you, like the memories of those you'd lost and those you'd saved. The doorbell rang, and both adults tensed automatically. Logan's hand moved toward the Glock he kept in the kitchen drawer while Victoria pulled up the security feeds on her laptop. "It's Daniels from the Attorney General's office," she said, frowning. "He's not scheduled." Logan moved to the door, checking through the peephole to confirm before opening it. Agent Daniels stood there in his typical black suit, but his usually composed face showed strain. "Mr. Hayes, Ms. Cross, we need to talk." They led him to the living room where the girls couldn't overhear. Daniels declined coffee, which told Logan this was serious. The man never turned down caffeine. "There's been a development," Daniels began. "Someone's been asking questions about Emma. Subtle inquiries through academic channels, research into neural pattern mapping, and biological authentication systems." "Valkyrie's gone," Victoria said firmly. "We've verified its complete destruction. We know. But whoever this is isn't looking for Valkyrie. They're looking for the next version. They believe Emma's neural patterns could be the key to creating something even more advanced." Logan felt the familiar cold settle into his bones. The pre-combat chill that meant violence was coming. "Who?" "We're not sure yet. The inquiries are coming through a maze of shell companies and academic institutions. But there's a pattern. Someone with resources and patience is building a profile on Emma, tracking her routines, her abilities." "How much do they know?" Victoria's voice was steady, but Logan saw her hands clench. "Enough to be dangerous. Not enough to act on yet. We're monitoring the situation, but Daniels hesitated. There's a complication. Senator Mitchell's committee is pushing for Emma to be brought in for protective study. They claim it's for her safety, but they want to study her themselves, Logan finished. Use her as a blueprint for their own projects. The president is blocking them, but Mitchell has allies. He's calling hearings, demanding access to the Valkyrie files, suggesting that keeping Emma in civilian custody is a national security risk. Through the window, Logan could see the girls had stopped playing and were sitting on the swing set, heads together in serious conversation. At 10, they were already closer than most biological sisters, sharing secrets and dreams with the complete trust of childhood. "What do you need from us?" Logan asked. "Stay alert. We're increasing surveillance, adding another layer to your protection detail. But Mr. Hayes, if someone makes a move, I'll handle it," Logan said simply. After Daniels left, Logan and Victoria stood together watching their daughters through the window. Emma was showing Chloe something on a tablet, probably another coding project she'd designed. The girl's brilliance was impossible to hide, emerging in everything from her perfect grades to her ability to hack the school's network to add extra recess time for her class. "Maybe we should run," Victoria said quietly. "Take the girls somewhere remote, off the grid entirely." "Running means they're always looking over their shoulders," Logan replied, "always afraid. That's not a life. Neither is being hunted." Logan turned to face her, taking her hands in his. Over the past months, they'd grown from allies to partners to something more. Not quite defined, but undeniably real. "We knew this might happen. That's why we built Project Guardian. Trust the system we created." "I trust you," Victoria corrected. "The system is just people, and people can be compromised." Before Logan could respond, his phone buzzed with an encrypted message from Rick. "Eyes on suspicious vehicle. Black sedan, government plates but not in our database. 2 occupants surveilling your location." Logan moved casually to the window, using the reflection in a picture frame to observe the street. There it was, parked 3 houses down, positioned for a clear view of their front door. "Victoria, take the girls inside. Game room. Now." She didn't question, just called the girls in with the code phrase they'd practiced, "Time for hot chocolate." The girls came running, excited but not alarmed. They'd made the emergency protocols into games, ensuring the children could respond quickly without the trauma of constant fear. Logan slipped out the back door, moving through the connected backyards. They'd chosen this house partly because every neighbor was part of Project Guardian, creating a secure corridor for tactical movement. Johnson was already repositioning, his hedge trimmers abandoned for the rifle hidden in his garden shed. The sedan's occupants were focused on the front of Logan's house, not expecting an approach from behind. Logan materialized at the driver's window like a ghost, tapping on the glass with the barrel of his Glock. "Step out of the vehicle." Slowly. Both men emerged, hands visible, but their body language screaming federal training. The driver, a lean man with sharp features, smiled coldly. "Mr. Hayes, I'm Agent Cooper, Senate Intelligence Committee. We're here on official business." "Badge," Logan demanded. Cooper produced credentials that looked genuine, but Logan photographed them anyway, sending the images to Daniels for verification. "Senator Mitchell wants to meet with you," Cooper continued, "to discuss Emma's future." "Emma's future isn't the senator's concern. National security is everyone's concern. The girl represents a potential threat." Logan moved so fast, Cooper didn't have time to react. One moment he was standing, the next, he was pinned against the sedan's hood, Logan's forearm across his throat. "That girl," Logan said, his voice deadly quiet, "is a 10-year-old child who likes dinosaurs and coding and making friendship bracelets. She is not a threat, an asset, or a potential anything except a kid who deserves to grow up in peace." Cooper's partner started to move, but Johnson appeared behind him, rifle casual, but present. "I'd stay real still if I were you." Logan's phone buzzed. Daniels confirming the credentials were fake. These weren't Senate intelligence. They were private contractors using forged documents. "You've got 5 seconds to tell me who really sent you," Logan said, increasing pressure on Cooper's throat. "Can't breathe." Logan eased up slightly. Cooper gasped,
then spoke rapidly. Prometheus Group, private think tank, focuses on advanced AI development. They've been tracking everyone involved with Valkyrie, looking for ways to recreate it. Emma's their primary target. Where? Main facilities in Montana, but they have people everywhere. Government, tech companies, academia. They're patient, Mr. Hayes. They'll wait years if necessary to get what they want. Logan released him, stepping back.
You're going to deliver a message to your employers. Emma Cross is off limits. Anyone who comes near her or her family will answer to me. And unlike them, I'm not patient. Cooper rubbed his throat, trying to salvage some dignity. You can't protect her forever. She's too valuable, her potential too important. Watch me, Logan said. Now get out of my neighborhood before I let Johnson here practice his long-range accuracy. The men retreated to their sedan and drove away, but Logan knew this was just the beginning. The Prometheus Group wouldn't give up easily, and Senator Mitchell's committee would keep pushing. Emma would never be just a normal girl to these people. He returned to the house to find Victoria had moved the girls to the safe room, a reinforced basement space disguised as a game room, complete with Xbox, books, and enough supplies to last a week. The girls were playing a dancing game, laughing as they tried to match the movements on screen, blissfully unaware of the danger that had just passed. Everything okay? Victoria asked, reading his expression. Prometheus Group. They're making their move. Victoria's face paled. She knew the name. A consortium of former defense contractors and tech billionaires who believed artificial intelligence was the key to human evolution. They tried to buy Valkyrie before everything went sideways. We need to accelerate Emma's training, she said. She needs to know how to protect herself. Logan watched his daughter teaching Emma a new dance move, both girls giggling as they stumbled through the steps. Not yet. Let them be kids a little longer. Logan, I know. He pulled Victoria close, feeling her tension against his chest. But right now, they're happy. They're safe. Tomorrow we'll start preparing them for what's coming. Tonight, let them dance. That evening, after the girls were asleep, Logan called a meeting of the full Guardian team. They gathered in the basement, Rick, Johnson, Torres, and 3 others, all veterans who'd found new purpose protecting Emma and Chloe. Prometheus won't stop, Logan began. They see Emma as the key to something bigger than Valkyrie. We need to be ready. What about going public, Torres suggested. Media attention might make them back off. Or paint a bigger target on Emma's back, Rick countered. Every terrorist organization and rogue state would know exactly who she is. We increase security, Logan decided. Double the surveillance, vary the girls' routines, add counter-surveillance measures. And we start teaching them, gradually, carefully, how to recognize threats. Turn them into operators. Johnson looked uncomfortable. They're kids, Logan. No, we teach them to be aware, to be smart, to trust their instincts. The same things any parent teaches, just more thoroughly. Victoria entered the basement, having monitored the discussion through the house's internal comm system. There's another option. I've been working on something. A way to muddy the waters. She pulled up files on her laptop, displaying code that made even Logan's eyes glaze over. What if we make them think Emma isn't unique? Create false trails, fake research suggesting dozens of children have similar neural patterns. Digital chaff, Rick said, understanding immediately. Make Emma a needle in a haystack instead of the only needle. Exactly. I can plant data suggesting the neural pattern trait is genetic, but random, appearing in roughly 1 in 10 million children. Suddenly, Emma becomes just one potential candidate among hundreds worldwide. That's brilliant, Logan said. But won't they test the theory? Let them. By the time they realize the data's false, we'll have bought months, maybe years. Victoria's fingers were already flying across the keyboard. I'll need access to medical databases, genetic research centers. Daniels can arrange that, Logan said. Federal backing for cybersecurity research. As the team planned and prepared, Logan stepped outside for air. The suburban street was quiet, porch lights creating pools of safety in the darkness. It looked so normal, so peaceful. No one would guess that every third house contained a former special operator, that the old lady walking her dog was a retired CIA analyst, that the teenager mowing lawns was Torres's son, already trained in surveillance and communications. They'd built a fortress disguised as a neighborhood, a family protected by an invisible army. But Logan knew fortresses could be besieged, armies could be compromised. In the end, their real strength wasn't in weapons or walls. It was in the bonds they'd forged, the family they'd chosen. Can't sleep? Victoria joined him on the porch, wrapping her arms around him from behind. Just thinking. About? Sarah, what she'd think of all this. Victoria was quiet for a moment. I think she'd be proud. You're protecting Chloe, giving her a sister, building something from loss. I'm also putting her in danger. Emma's proximity makes Chloe a target too. Chloe would never forgive you if you separated them. Neither would Emma. Victoria moved to face him. Logan, we can't protect them from everything, but we can give them the tools to protect themselves and each other. That's all any parent can do. She was right, of course. Logan pulled her close, breathing in the scent of her shampoo, feeling the steady beat of her heart against his chest. 6 months ago, he'd been a broken soldier playing at being a mechanic. Now he was something more. Protector, father to 2 girls instead of 1, partner to a woman who matched his strength with her own. I love you, he said, the word still foreign on his tongue, but feeling more natural each time. I love you too, Victoria replied. All of us do. Emma asked me yesterday if she could call you Dad. What did you tell her? That she should ask you herself. The next morning brought that opportunity. Logan was making breakfast, pancakes shaped like dinosaurs for Emma, stars for Chloe, when Emma appeared in the kitchen earlier than usual. Mr. Logan? She said, her voice uncertain. Morning, kiddo. You're up early. I had a question. She fidgeted with the hem of her pajama top, a nervous gesture he'd noticed she did when something was important. Chloe calls you Dad. She does. Would it be okay if I did too? Logan set down the spatula and knelt to Emma's level, meeting her serious brown eyes. Emma, I would be honored to be your dad, but you don't have to. I want to, she interrupted. My biological father left before I was born, but you stayed. You got hurt protecting me. You read to me when I have nightmares. You taught me how to throw a proper punch? Your mom wasn't supposed to tell you about that. Emma grinned. She didn't. But I figured it out. The angle was all wrong for a basic self-defense move. You were teaching me close quarters combat. Logan laughed, pulling her into a hug. You're too smart for your own good. Mom says I get that from her, but Chloe says I get my brave from you. Emma pulled back to look at him. So can I? Call you Dad? Yeah, kiddo, you can. Chloe appeared then, drawn by the smell of pancakes and the sound of conversation. Are we doing family hugs without me? She joined the embrace, and Victoria found them there minutes later, Logan on his knees with both girls wrapped around him, all 3 laughing at something Chloe had whispered. Should I be jealous? Victoria asked, smiling. Family hug, Chloe declared, and pulled her mother into the group. Standing there in their kitchen, surrounded by love and laughter, Logan felt something he hadn't experienced since before Sarah's death. Complete. Not perfect. Perfection was impossible in their situation, but complete, whole, purposeful. The secure phone rang, shattering the moment. Logan recognized the ringtone. Emergency priority. Hayes, he answered. We have a problem, Daniel said without preamble. Senator Mitchell's committee just issued subpoenas. You, Victoria, and Emma are to appear before Congress next week for questioning about Valkyrie and potential national security threats. Logan felt Victoria stiffen beside him, saw the fear flash in Emma's eyes. She understood more than any 10-year-old should. They can't force Emma to testify, Logan said. She's a minor. They're claiming extraordinary circumstances. Mitchell has a federal judge ready to sign off. If you don't appear, they'll issue arrest warrants. Let them try, Logan growled. Logan, Daniels warned, fighting this legally is better than what? Than protecting my family? They want to turn Emma into a lab rat, and you know it. The president is intervening, but it takes time. For now, you need to appear. Show that you're cooperating, that there's no threat. Logan hung up and looked at his family, Victoria's jaw set with determination, Chloe's face confused but trusting, Emma's eyes already calculating possibilities with her terrifying intelligence. What's happening, Dad? Emma asked, and the new title made his chest tight.
Some people want to talk to us about the old project, the one that caused all the trouble. Valkyrie, Emma said. It wasn't a question. They want to know if I can make another one. Can you? Chloe asked innocently. Emma looked at her sister, then at her parents. Probably. But I won't. Valkyrie was meant to protect people, but it became something else. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is choose not to use power. Logan stared at his 10-year-old daughter, not biological, but his in every way that mattered, and marveled at her wisdom. That's right, he said, and we're going to make sure everyone understands that. The next days were a blur of preparation. Lawyers were consulted, strategies developed, testimonies prepared. But Logan knew legal battles were just one front in this war. The Prometheus group would use the hearings as cover for something else. He could feel it in his bones, that combat instinct that had saved his life countless times. He was right. 3 nights before the hearing, the attack came. Not a full assault. That would have been too obvious with federal agents watching. Instead, a subtle infiltration, gas through the ventilation system designed to knock everyone unconscious. But Logan had prepared for this too. The house's air system had sensors that detected chemical anomalies, sealing vents and switching to internal oxygen reserves, another paranoid preparation that proved prescient. Logan woke to the alarm's silent vibration on his wrist. He touched Victoria's shoulder, and she came alert instantly. They drilled this, no words, just movement. Victoria went to the girls' room while Logan armed himself and checked the monitors. 4 figures in tactical gear were approaching the house, confident their gas had done its work. Logan recognized the movement patterns. Prometheus contractors, probably ex-military, definitely dangerous. He activated the comm system. All Guardian units, we have 4 hostiles approaching. Chemical attack failed. They think we're unconscious. Copy, Rick's voice came back. Moving to intercept. Negative, let them come. I want to know what they're after. Logan positioned himself in the hallway's shadows, watching through the house's internal cameras as the team breached the back door with professional efficiency. They moved through the house quickly, heading straight for Emma's room. But Emma wasn't there. Victoria had moved both girls to the safe room the moment the alarm triggered. The contractors found only empty beds and Logan's shadow falling across them. "Evening, gentlemen," he said, Glock steady in his hands. Lost? They reacted instantly, but Logan had already moved. His first shot took out the lead operator's weapon, sending it spinning. The second shot hit the next man's knee, dropping him. The third and fourth operators dove for cover, but Logan knew his house's layout better than his own heartbeat. He flowed through the darkness, using furniture and walls as cover, herding them toward the kitchen where Rick's team would be waiting. The contractors were good, maintaining discipline despite the ambush, but they'd made a crucial error. They'd assumed their targets were civilians. One operator tried to flank through the living room. Logan led him, then struck from behind, a chokehold that put the man down in seconds. The fourth operator, realizing he was alone and outmaneuvered, made a break for the door. He ran straight into Rick's team. "Federal agents, drop your weapons!" It was a lie. Rick's team had no federal authority, but it worked. The operator surrendered, and within minutes, all 4 were zip-tied in Logan's garage. Daniels arrived within the hour, accompanied by real federal agents who took the contractors into custody. But the damage was done. Prometheus had shown they were willing to risk everything to get Emma. "We can't stay here," Victoria said as they watched the contractors being driven away. "They know our location, our defenses." "We're not running," Logan said firmly. "We go to that hearing, we face Mitchell's committee, and we end this publicly. Make it clear that Emma is off limits, that anyone who comes after her will face the full weight of the law. And if that doesn't work?" Logan looked at his family, Victoria strong despite her fear, Chloe and Emma holding hands, drawing strength from each other. "Then we do what we have to do to protect our own." The congressional hearing was set for the next morning. Logan spent the night preparing, not testimony but tactics. The hearing room would be secure, but getting there and back would leave them exposed. He coordinated with Rick, establishing multiple routes, contingency plans, backup scenarios. As dawn broke, Logan stood in his daughter's room, watching them sleep. Emma had crawled into Chloe's bed during the night, the 2 girls tangled together like puppies. His daughters, both of them, regardless of blood or birth. "We'll keep them safe,"
Victoria whispered, joining him. Whatever it takes, Logan agreed. Whatever it took turned out to be more than any of them expected. The hearing was a trap, but not the kind Logan had prepared for. Senator Mitchell had stacked the committee with Prometheus sympathizers, turned what should have been a fact-finding session into an interrogation designed to paint Emma as a threat requiring immediate containment. Ms. Cross, Mitchell said, his voice oozing false concern, isn't it true that your daughter possesses the ability to recreate Valkyrie? My daughter possesses the ability to tie her shoes and solve long division, Victoria replied coolly. Neither makes her a national security threat. Don't be glib, Ms. Cross. We have evidence that Emma's neural patterns are unique, that she could interface with AI systems in ways others cannot. Even if that were true, and I'm not confirming it is, ability doesn't equal intent. Emma is a 10-year-old child who wants to be a veterinarian when she grows up. Mitchell turned his attention to Logan. Mr. Hayes, you've turned your home into a fortress, surrounded yourself with former military operators. That doesn't suggest you're protecting an innocent child. It suggests you're guarding a weapon. Logan leaned forward, his voice carrying the weight of every battle he'd fought. Senator, I've seen weapons. I've used them, been damaged by them, lost friends to them. Emma Cross is not a weapon. She's a little girl who deserves the chance to grow up without people like you trying to turn her into one. People like me are trying to protect this nation. People like you are trying to exploit a child for your own agenda. Logan stood, ignoring the committee's calls for order. I've read your classified proposals, Senator. You don't want to protect against Emma. You want to use her to create your own version of Valkyrie. You see her as a resource to be harvested, not a person to be protected. The hearing room erupted in chaos. Mitchell demanded Logan be held in contempt. Other senators called for order. Reporters shouted questions. And in the midst of it all, Emma stood up from where she'd been sitting quietly beside her mother. May I speak? She asked, her young voice somehow cutting through the noise. The room fell silent, all eyes turning to the small girl in the blue dress Victoria had picked out that morning. Mitchell recovered first. Young lady, this is a closed hearing. About me, Emma interrupted. You're all talking about me like I'm not here, like I don't understand, but I do understand. You're afraid of what I might do, what I might become. She walked forward, Logan moving to stay close, ready to intervene if necessary. I could probably recreate Valkyrie, Emma continued, her voice steady despite her age. My mom's notes, combined with my understanding of neural networking, would make it possible. But you know what? I choose not to. Every day, I choose not to use what I know to create something that could hurt people. You're a child, Mitchell said dismissively. You can't understand the implications. I understand that power without wisdom is dangerous. I understand that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. My dad, she glanced at Logan, taught me that strength isn't about what you can destroy, but what you choose to protect. Senator Williams, one of the few committee members not in Mitchell's pocket, leaned forward. What do you want, Emma? I want to go to school with my sister. I want to learn and grow and maybe help people someday, with medicine or teaching or something that heals instead of hurts. I want to be normal, even though I know I'm not. And if someone tries to force you to recreate Valkyrie, Emma's young face hardened with determination that reminded Logan of her mother. Then they'll learn that I'm my father's daughter too. I protect my own. The hearing ended in chaos, but the damage was done. Emma's testimony, leaked to the media within hours, turned public opinion decisively. The 10-year-old girl who chose not to use her power became a symbol of responsibility in the age of artificial intelligence. But Prometheus wasn't swayed by public opinion. The media storm following Emma's testimony should have been their shield, but Logan knew better than to trust public opinion to stop determined enemies. He was right to worry. 3 days after the hearing, while the world debated Emma's powerful words, Prometheus made their real move. It started with Chloe. Logan was in the garage, actually working on a car for once. Mrs. Patterson's Buick had developed a new problem, and the mundane task of fixing it gave him something normal to focus on. Victoria was inside, monitoring the security feeds while pretending to work on her laptop. Emma was at her computer teaching herself Mandarin because, as she'd explained, understanding different languages helps you understand different ways of thinking. The school called at 2:47 p.m. Mr. Hayes, this is Principal Morrison. There's been an incident with Chloe. Logan's blood turned to ice. What kind of incident? She collapsed during PE class. The paramedics are here, but she's stable. We're taking her to Arlington General. Logan was already moving, grabbing his keys, his concealed weapon, his emergency phone. Don't let anyone near her except medical staff. No visitors, no exceptions. Mr. Hayes, I don't understand. Someone's coming for my daughter. Lock down the school until I get there. Victoria appeared in the garage doorway, having heard everything through the security system. It's a trap. I know. Logan checked his weapon, muscle memory taking over. They take Chloe to draw me out, leave you and Emma vulnerable. So we all go, Emma said from behind Victoria. They expect you to split up, so we don't. Logan wanted to argue to keep Emma safe at the house, but she was right. Prometheus would expect standard protective protocol, secure the primary target while responding to the secondary threat. By staying together, they'd disrupt the plan. Rick, Logan said into his phone, Chloe's been taken to Arlington General. Possible poisoning or drugging. I need the hospital locked down. Copy. Teams mobilizing. Johnson and Torres are already en route. They took the armored SUV, Victoria driving, while Logan coordinated with his team. Emma sat in the back, her young face calm but her hands betraying her fear, twisting the friendship bracelet Chloe had made her. Arlington General's emergency entrance was chaos when they arrived. Not unusual for a hospital, but Logan's trained eye caught the anomalies. Too many people in suits for a Tuesday afternoon. A van with tinted windows parked in the ambulance bay. 2 men in paramedic uniforms who moved like soldiers, not medical professionals. Stay in the vehicle, Logan ordered. Rick, you seeing this? Affirmative. Count 12 possibles. This isn't a kidnapping, it's an ambush. Logan's mind raced through scenarios. Prometheus had poisoned Chloe to force them here, but not fatally. They needed her alive as leverage. Now they'd spring their trap, try to take Emma in the chaos of a public space where Logan couldn't respond with full force. Victoria, when I move, you drive Emma out of here. Rick's team will escort you to Safe House 3. Logan, no arguments. Emma's safety is priority 1. What about Chloe? Emma asked, her voice small. Logan turned to look at his daughter, not by blood, but by choice, by love, by every moment they'd shared in the past months. I'm going to get her. I promise. He exited the vehicle before anyone could protest, walking toward the emergency entrance with the casual confidence of a concerned father. The suited men noticed him immediately, hands moving to concealed weapons. Logan counted steps, measured distances, calculated angles. 20 feet from the entrance, he stopped. I know you're here for Emma, he said, loud enough for the nearest operatives to hear, but you poisoned the wrong daughter. Chloe doesn't have the neural patterns you need. You've accomplished nothing except pissing me off. One of the fake paramedics approached, his hand inside his jacket. Mr. Hayes, your daughter needs immediate treatment. Come with us. No. This isn't a negotiation. Logan moved faster than thought. His hand clamped on the man's wrist, preventing him from drawing his weapon. His other hand struck the operative's throat, a precise blow that dropped him gasping. Logan liberated the man's earpiece as he fell. Prometheus command, he said into the device. This is Logan Hayes. You have 3 seconds to order your men to stand down, or I start reducing your payroll. Mr. Hayes, a cultured voice responded. I'm Dr. Marcus Chen, director of Project Prometheus. There's no need for violence. We simply want to talk. You poisoned my daughter to talk? A mild neurotoxin, completely reversible. She's already receiving the antidote. Think of it as an invitation you couldn't refuse. Logan's vision went red. You poisoned a 7-year-old girl. To save millions. Emma's abilities could revolutionize artificial intelligence, prevent wars, solve global crises. Surely one child's temporary discomfort is worth... I'm going to find you, Logan said, his voice deadly quiet. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. And when I do, you're going to learn what temporary discomfort really means. He dropped the earpiece and crushed it under his boot. The suited men were converging now, trying to look casual but failing. Logan counted 8 approaching, with 4 more hanging back. They thought numbers would matter. They were wrong. The first man reached for him, trying for a restraining hold. Logan redirected his momentum, sending him crashing into a concrete pillar. The second came from behind. Logan dropped and swept his legs, following up with an elbow to the solar plexus. The third and fourth tried to coordinate, but Logan had already grabbed a metal trash can, using it as both shield and weapon. "Federal agents!" Everyone freeze. Daniels and a full FBI tactical team burst from unmarked vans, weapons drawn. The Prometheus operatives hesitated, caught between their mission and the very real threat of federal prosecution. "Logan, go!" Daniels shouted. "We've got this. Your daughter's on the 3rd floor, room 307. Logan didn't need to be told twice. He sprinted through the emergency entrance, past shocked medical staff, taking the stairs 3 at a time. His shoulder screamed, the old injury always did in moments of extreme exertion. But pain was just information, and he had more important things to focus on. Room 3. 07's door was guarded by 2 more Prometheus operatives. They saw Logan coming and reached for weapons, but he'd picked up a fire extinguisher from the hallway. The chemical spray blinded them long enough for Logan to close distance. 2 precise strikes, and both men were unconscious. He burst through the door to find Chloe in a hospital bed, pale but conscious, with Dr. Chen himself standing beside her. "Daddy!" Chloe tried to sit up, but she was still weak. "Don't move, baby." "I'm here." Chen raised his hands peacefully. He was younger than his voice had suggested, maybe 40, with intelligent eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "The antidote is working. She'll be fully recovered within the hour." "Give me one reason not to throw you out that window." "Because I'm not your enemy, Mr. Hayes. I'm a scientist who believes Emma Cross could change the world. My methods were extreme, yes, but you poisoned my daughter. To demonstrate urgency. Emma's abilities will be discovered by others. Hostile nations, terrorist organizations. Would you rather they make the first move?" Logan moved closer, and Chen backed against the window. "Emma's abilities, as you call them, are her choice to use or not use. Not yours, not the government's, not anyone's, but hers. She's 10 years old. She's more mature than you." Logan grabbed Chen's collar, pulling him close. "She understands that power without responsibility is destruction. You clearly don't." "The FBI is arresting my people," Chen said, struggling to maintain his composure. "But Prometheus has resources, connections. We'll be free within days, and we'll keep coming. Unless what? Unless we make a deal. Emma spends 1 month each year at our facility willingly, teaching us about neural pattern recognition. In exchange, Prometheus becomes her protector instead of her pursuer. Imagine having our resources defending her instead of hunting her." Logan laughed, a harsh sound devoid of humor. "You really don't understand, do you? Emma doesn't need your protection. She has mine, and Victoria's, and Rick's team, and now, after your little stunt, the full weight of the federal government." He released Chen, who straightened his clothes with shaking hands. "You can't protect her forever. Watch me." Daniels appeared in the doorway with FBI agents. "Dr. Chen, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit kidnapping, assault on a federal officer, and about 15 other charges our lawyers are still listing." As they cuffed Chen, he looked back at Logan. "This isn't over. There are others who see Emma's potential, others who won't be as civilized in their approach." "Let them come," Logan said, gathering Chloe into his arms. She was light, too light, but her arms around his neck were strong. "Daddy, I was brave," she whispered. "I didn't cry when I felt sick." "I knew you'd come." "You're the bravest girl I know," Logan said, his throat tight. "Both my girls are—" Victoria and Emma burst through the door, having abandoned the escape plan the moment they heard the FBI had arrived. Emma ran to Chloe's bedside, tears streaming down her face. "This is my fault," Emma sobbed. "They hurt you because of me?" "No," Chloe said firmly, taking her sister's hand. "They hurt me because they're bad people." "It's not your fault you're special. It's their fault they're mean." Logan watched his daughters comfort each other and felt that familiar rage build,
Not hot, but cold, the kind that had carried him through 3 wars. Prometheus had made a critical error. They'd touched his family. They'd hurt his little girl to get to the other. "Victoria," he said quietly, "how long would it take to destroy Prometheus completely?" She looked up from the girls, and he saw his own cold fury reflected in her eyes. "Financially, about 6 weeks. Legally, 3 months. Reputation? I could start that tonight. Do it all." She nodded, already pulling out her phone. "I'll need access to their servers." "Daniels," Logan called. "The FBI just arrested Chen with his phone and laptop, right? Sure would be a shame if those devices were accidentally accessed during evidence processing." Daniels smiled grimly. "Terrible shame. Our cybersecurity team is notoriously thorough in their investigations." Over the next hours, as Chloe recovered and Emma refused to leave her side, Victoria worked with frightening efficiency. She traced Prometheus's funding sources, exposed their illegal activities to journalists, and planted evidence of tax evasion that would trigger federal investigations. By the time Chloe was released that evening, Prometheus Group was hemorrhaging money and credibility. But Logan knew this was just one head of the Hydra. Chen had been right about one thing. Others would come. Emma's existence was public knowledge now, her potential too valuable for the world's predators to ignore. That night, after the girls were asleep in Chloe's bed, neither willing to be separated, Logan and Victoria sat on their porch, planning. "We could still run," Victoria said. "New identities, new country." Emma was right at the hearing. Running means always looking over our shoulders. Logan took her hand. "Besides, Chloe loves her school, her friends. Emma's finally making connections. They deserve as normal a life as we can give them." "Then how do we protect them?" Logan was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he smiled, the first genuine smile since Chloe had collapsed. "We don't protect them. We prepare them." "Logan?" "Think about it. Emma's already brilliant, probably smarter than both of us combined. Chloe's brave and loyal and fierce when protecting others. Instead of hiding them from the world, we teach them to face it. Martial arts, situational awareness, cybersecurity, everything we know. Turn them into warriors? No. Turn them into survivors. Give them the tools to protect themselves and each other when we can't." Victoria considered this. "It would have to be gradual, age-appropriate. We can't steal their childhood trying to protect it." "Agreed. We make it fun, like games. Chloe already loves the escape room drills we do. Emma treats everything like a puzzle to solve. And we'd need help, specialized instructors who understand the balance between training and trauma. Rick knows people. Former operators who became teachers, child psychologists with security backgrounds." Logan pulled Victoria closer. "We're not just building a family, we're building a team. Our daughters at the center, protected but not helpless." Victoria kissed him, soft and grateful. "Our daughters. I love how that sounds. Me too." The next morning brought unexpected allies. Senator Williams, who'd been sympathetic during the hearing, arrived with a proposal. "The president wants to offer Emma and your family something," she said, sitting in their living room while the girls played outside under Johnson's watchful eye. "Not protection. You've proven you can handle that. But legitimacy." "Meaning?" Logan asked suspiciously. "A new federal program. Gifted children with unique abilities that could be exploited by hostile forces. Emma would be the first participant, but not the only one. We've identified 17 other children with exceptional capabilities, not like Emma's, but significant enough to be targets." "You want to collect special kids?" Victoria's tone was sharp. "We want to protect them while helping them reach their potential safely. Think of it as a very exclusive, very secure private school. The children would live at home, maintain their normal lives, but receive additional education and protection resources." "What's the catch?" Logan asked. "No catch. Participation is voluntary. Emma can leave anytime. But Mr. Hayes, we'd want you to head security for the program. Your approach, protection without imprisonment, is exactly what these families need." Logan looked at Victoria, seeing his own thoughts reflected in her eyes. It was an opportunity to help other children like Emma, to build a network of protected families instead of standing alone. "I'd need to see the facility,
Meet the other families, review all security protocols, Logan said. Of course. And Ms. Cross, we'd value your input on the technical education aspects. Teaching gifted children to understand and control their abilities rather than fear them. Emma and Chloe burst through the door, laughing about something Johnson had said. They stopped when they saw Senator Williams, Emma's expression becoming guarded. Senator, Emma said politely. Hello, Emma. I wanted to apologize for how the hearing went. You were very brave. Thank you. Emma moved closer to Logan, not quite hiding behind him, but clearly seeking security. Are you here to take me somewhere? No. I'm here to offer you something, a chance to meet other special kids, learn in a safe environment, and stay with your family. Emma looked at Logan. What do you think, Dad? The title still made his chest tight with emotion. I think we should learn more before deciding anything. That's very wise, Senator Williams said, standing. Take your time. This program only works if families participate willingly. But Emma, I want you to know you're not alone. There are other children out there who understand what it's like to be different. After Williams left, the family sat together on the couch, the girls between their parents. Would I have to leave home? Emma asked. Never, Victoria said firmly. Any program that separates us is automatically rejected. Would Chloe come too? If you go anywhere, I go, Chloe declared. We're sisters. Sisters stick together. Logan felt something ease in his chest. Whatever came next, they'd face it as a family. The soldier in him had found peace not in the absence of conflict, but in having something worth fighting for. That evening, as Logan tucked the girls into bed, they'd finally agreed to sleep in separate rooms again. Emma caught his hand. Dad, do you think I'm dangerous? Logan sat on the edge of her bed, choosing his words carefully. I think you're powerful. And power can be dangerous if it's not respected. But you respect it. You understand that strength comes with responsibility. Dr. Chen said I could change the world. You already have. You've changed mine, your mom's, Chloe's. That's 3 worlds right there. Emma smiled, but it faded quickly. What if more bad people come? Then we'll face them together. As a family. Logan kissed her forehead. But Emma, I need you to understand something. Your mom and I, Rick and his team, will always protect you. But we're also going to teach you to protect yourself. Not because we won't be there, but because being prepared makes you less afraid. Like your emergency plans? Exactly like that. Knowledge is power, and you're already the smartest person I know. Mom's smarter, Emma said loyally. Don't tell her I agreed with that. Emma giggled, the sound erasing the shadows that had lingered since the hospital. Dad? I'm glad you heard me scream that night. Me too, kiddo. Best thing that ever happened to me. He turned off her light and checked on Chloe, who was already asleep, Mr. Dinosaur clutched in her arms. The toy was ratty now, loved nearly to pieces, but she refused to let Victoria repair it. He's perfect how he is, she always said. Logan found Victoria in their bedroom, working on her laptop as always. But when she saw him, she closed it and held out her arms. How are you? She asked as he collapsed beside her. Tired. Angry. Grateful. He pulled her close. Prometheus hurt Chloe to get to Emma. That can't happen again. It won't. I've destroyed them financially. Daniel says the criminal charges will stick. Chen's looking at 20 years minimum. There'll be others. Yes. Victoria was quiet for a moment. Logan, what if we're wrong? What if hiding Emma's abilities, teaching her not to use them, is a mistake? What if she could help people? She will help people. When she's ready, when it's her choice, when she's old enough to understand the full implications, but not because someone else decided for her. You're a good father. I'm trying to be. Logan stared at the ceiling. Sarah would have loved Emma. She always wanted another child, but the cancer. She'd be proud of what you've built here. A family from fragments, love from loss. They lay together in comfortable silence, listening to the night sounds of their suburban fortress. Somewhere out there, enemies were planning, threats were forming, dangers were approaching. But here, in this moment, they were safe. They were together. They were family. The next week, they visited the facility Senator Williams had described. It was impressive, a converted estate in rural Virginia with state-of-the-art security and educational resources. The other families were cautious but hopeful, their gifted children ranging from mathematical prodigies to a boy who could memorize entire books after reading them once. Emma watched the other children with curious eyes. They're like me, but different. Everyone's like that, Chloe said wisely. Like you, but different. The program director, Dr. Elizabeth Harper, was a former CIA analyst turned child psychologist. She showed them around personally, noting their concerns and suggestions. This isn't about creating weapons, she assured them. It's about giving gifted children the tools to navigate a world that will always see them as different. And if someone tries to weaponize the program, Logan asked bluntly, then they'll have to go through you, from what I understand. Senator Williams was very clear. You have full authority over security, answering only to the president himself. Logan looked at Victoria, who nodded slightly. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than standing alone. We'll try it, he said. 1-month trial period. If the girls are unhappy, if we see any sign of exploitation, we're gone. Fair enough, Dr. Harper agreed. As they drove home, Emma was unusually quiet. Finally, she spoke. The boy who memorizes books, Thomas. He was sad. Why? Victoria asked. Because he remembers everything, even the bad stuff. He can't forget. Emma looked out the window. I'm glad my gift isn't that. Forgetting is important sometimes. But not too much, Chloe added. You have to remember the good stuff, too. And the lessons, Logan said, meeting Emma's eyes in the rearview mirror. The hard times teach us how to handle the next hard times. Is that why you don't forget the war? Emma asked with her uncanny perception. Logan considered his answer. I don't forget because forgetting would dishonor the people who didn't come home. But I don't let it control me either. I use it to be better, to protect what matters. Us, Chloe said confidently. You, Logan confirmed. That night, as Victoria worked on curriculum suggestions for the program, and the girls played a board game that Emma was definitely letting Chloe win, Logan stood watch at the window. It was an old habit, checking perimeters, noting changes, staying vigilant. Rick appeared beside him, having entered through the back door with his usual silence. Heard about the program. You really think it'll work? Maybe. If we do it right. If we keep the focus on the kids, not the potential. And Emma? She's stronger than any of us realized. Chloe, too. They've been through more in 6 months than most kids experience in a lifetime, and they're still laughing, still playing, still being kids. Because they have you and Victoria. Because they have all of us. Logan turned to his friend. Rick, if something happens to me, nothing's going to happen to you. But if it does, promise me I'll protect them like they're my own. You know that. Rick gripped Logan's shoulder. But brother, you need to stop thinking like you're expendable. Those girls don't just need a protector. They need their dad. Logan nodded, understanding. For so long, he'd defined himself by what he could sacrifice, what he could endure, what he could destroy to protect others. But Emma and Chloe needed more than a guardian. They needed him whole, present, alive. Dad, Emma called. Come play with us. I promise I'll stop letting Chloe win. Hey, Chloe protested. You're not letting me win. Sure, Emma said with suspicious innocence. Logan joined them at the table, Rick following. Victoria looked up from her laptop to smile at the scene, her family, chosen and cherished, gathering around a simple board game as if the world wasn't full of people who wanted to use them. Your turn, Dad, Emma said, handing him the dice. As Logan rolled, he thought about the strange journey that had brought them here. A scream in the night. A choice to act. A soldier becoming a father again, a mother finding partnership and protection, 2 girls becoming sisters through shared danger and deeper love. The dice landed, double 6s. Lucky, Chloe exclaimed. No, Logan said, moving his piece forward. Not luck, just probability playing out over time. Emma grinned at the scientific explanation while Chloe rolled her eyes. Victoria laughed and Rick stole popcorn from the bowl. Outside, the world continued its dangerous spin. Prometheus was broken, but not forgotten. Other threats would emerge, drawn to Emma's potential like moths to flame. The government program might help, or might become another complication. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new dangers, new decisions. But tonight, in this moment, they were just a family playing a board game. Logan's shoulder ached from his old wounds and new ones. Victoria's brilliant mind was split between protection protocols and wondering if she'd remembered to pack the girls' lunch for tomorrow. Emma was calculating probabilities while pretending she wasn't. Chloe was sneaking pieces forward when she thought no one was looking. It was imperfect and complicated, and absolutely everything Logan had never dared hope for after Sarah's death. "Dad," Chloe said suddenly, "you're smiling weird." "Am I?" "Yeah, like really big. It's creepy." "I'm just happy," Logan said simply. "Because you're winning?" Emma asked. "Because I already won," Logan replied, looking at each of them in turn. 6 months ago, I was just a broken soldier fixing cars. Now I'm... "Our dad," both girls said together. "Yeah," Logan said, his voice rough. "Your dad." Victoria reached over and took his hand. Rick clapped him on the shoulder. The girls continued their game, bickering good-naturedly about rules and fairness. This was worth fighting for, worth bleeding for, worth living for. The game continued late into the evening, laughter filling the house that had become a home. Whatever tomorrow brought, they'd face it together. The soldier had become a father. The mission had become a family. And the family, against all odds, had become everything.